Howdy, ho, 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 my good humans. This is a Game N Ramble radio exclusive intro here. So for those of you who like the long form content, Game N Ramble Radio will be your home. Pretty much what this is going to be is all of our short form content throughout the week packaged together and ran in real time for you all to see. So we record all of this in one go. Um, and y'all are going to kind of come behind the scenes with us in the process, and you're going to kind of see how the cookie crumbles, how the
Oh, the
sausage is
cake gets
made.
made. There
Yeah.
you go.
Um, so yeah, you're gonna see the whole making of pretty much what we do each week on Game and Ramble Radio. And it's so what we're thinking is we were like, should we pause in between? Because what we do, just for background for people who don't know, we get together and we record. We're trying to record like five, six, seven videos in one 3, 4 hour sitting. Um, so what we usually do is after we record one video, we kind of pause for a second, regroup. Loon and I will talk behind the scenes like, how you want to do this? How do you want to set this up? And we were like, should we leave all of that in for the long form content? And I kind of think it would be sort of cool to leave all of it in, just like a totally uncut.
Yeah, because my mindset behind it was because I pitched that as the first way of doing it is obviously if at any moment people collectively turn around and go, yeah, that's not working, we're not rigid. We're willing to change and obviously adapt stuff. But if you're tuning in, because what we're doing is we're giving people the best of both worlds now. It's not having to sacrifice one or the other. You will get, if you want to choose to consume the content on the channel in long form content, that's what this will be for. And those that usually do sit there and consume the 3 hour, it's like the people who've commented saying, like, I'm doing it in the garden or I'm on a massively long, like, truck ride. They're not going to be wanting to tab between videos and stuff. So having a minute or two intermission of speaking behind the scenes while we get ready for the next thing. I don't think they're going to mind that being in there, accompanying us
Yeah.
for that journey. And, yeah.
And it's like, and that's kind of the idea of Game and Ramble Radio as the title for our long form thing is like a radio show, old school radio, where back in the day, it would cut to commercial whenever you're listening to Howard Stern or whatever. Instead of cutting to a commercial, you're just going to see all the behind the scenes stuff of like what goes on in that commercial break typically. So, um,
Us
yeah.
dancing and stuff like that. Plenty of that.
Absolutely. So, yeah, and I also thought it'd be cool for specifically for the long form viewers to give y'all a little exclusive intro each week where Loon and I sit here for maybe 10 minutes and just discuss the the week that was for Game and Ramble, how we're looking at the content and how we're looking at how we're looking at growing this thing, our lessons learned for each week. And so yeah, I
What will
hope
be in
that
this video, I would hope. The contents.
right, right. Um, so yeah, it was we're pretty fresh off of the last recording. We recorded what 3 days ago, 3 days ago, something like that.
Yeah, about three days ago.
So how are you feeling about, I mean, I think the cool thing about what we're doing with the frequent uploads, daily uploads is what we're trying to strive for, is that it gives us the ability to have more misses and that be okay.
Yep.
Because where I'm looking at, if we look at the metrics for our first run of videos, two of them didn't do well. But if we look at the Oblivion remake video, that did more views than, say, if we got together 3 times in a week, typically, and we recorded 3 3 hour long videos that each did 400 views. This one video did more views than all of the 400, or, the 400 views combined.
Yep.
So we ended up growing much more from that one video than we would from The and that's the whole thing is like trying to get stuff out there that can break out of our, because we got to break out of our bubble and grab new people to bring into our bubble, and
Mhm.
new people who like this style of content and who like gaming discussion like this. And then, because we're never going to be able to make this thing into a job or into a living if we only have 2,000 subscribers. We're incredibly grateful for it, but obviously we have to break beyond that.
Yeah, you do have to, break that ice. You can't just stay encased in that safety shell.
Yeah.
And a good thing that you point out is how we did it before. What was that, last year when we did do the news? It was all bunched into one. So even if we did have a smash hit story like that Oblivion thing, it would be buried in between maybe things that people aren't interested in. So
Yep.
if people, there are going to be those that want to sit through and listen to everything all at once. But there's also a ton of people that will just be like, 3 hours, I don't want to scroll through stuff. Um, and they just want to get to the thing that interests them because there are people that consume inside of this hobby and it doesn't make them less of fans of what they are. They just don't have any. It'd be like me. I wouldn't care about if I was watching. I wouldn't care about like talking about a platformer. So I fully
Mhm.
sympathize with that. And yeah, it's just striking a balance. That's all we got to find right now.
Right.
Get that balance, and then that's our new foundation. Right now, we are building that new foundation.
Totally. And it's the thing where, like you said, if those stories are packaged into, because the people who like us will click on a 3 hour video because they already know us. They know our personality, they know how we interact, they know our whole setup, they like it. But someone who's never seen our content before, they're never going to get a glimpse into who we are because they're going to be immediately off put by the length of the
especially
video.
if that opening topic isn't something that interests them.
Yep, totally.
So yeah,
So, yeah, I mean, I think we're making some pretty good decisions here, and we're also going to get more creative in the future. I don't want people to think that we're just going to do reviews and news, reviews and news, reviews and news. That's going to be a major part of what we do, no doubt. But we want to do fun games, and like we got a wheel that we're going to try to integrate into the show at some point. We got blind rankings that we're going to attempt to do, where like maybe we spin the wheel and we get 10 games, and from those 10 games, we got to rank them, or, just all these different ideas that we want to integrate into the show at some point. Um, okay, so now for the structure of these uploads, like Loon said a second ago, we know there are so many truckers out there who are, on those long night drives, long morning drives. I really want to make sure this is catered to y'all specifically. So I'm gonna upload these like late at night. That way they're ready for you in the morning. Um,
yep.
so yeah,
Or give feedback if you're just give us a time frame. I think would probably be the best. Like we'll aim for that first, but if it turns out that they're on different time schedules and stuff, because I don't know where they're all situated in the world. If we want to try and hit as many of them as we can, as conveniently for them as possible, because they will
yeah,
be the ones consuming it the most. So
totally.
without obviously exposing yourself too much, trying to tell
Yeah,
us the time zone of what, like, what time frame is that where you're doing them long drives and stuff, and we'll try and get them out to accompany you guys.
totally. And my thought process there as well is if I upload at, you know, 11 p.m. Central Time in America, that would be around what, 5 a.m. in the UK, right?
Yeah, give or take. Yeah.
Somewhere in that range. So it'd kind of be perfect for a lot of, people who are, I think, I think that should work. But like you said, if there's any, hey, I think this time might be a little bit better, just let us know.
Hmm.
And also a big part of it is this is going to go up on the same day as another video. So I want to give that other video time to breathe as well. Where
Yep.
I drop I typically try to drop around noon my time, a little bit earlier sometimes. Um, and I'm going to give that video as much breathing room as possible. And then I'll upload this probably this. So I guess what we'll do is we'll release the short form videos first, and then we'll release this after the short form videos are out there. to go ahead and give all those short form videos their chance to pop and maybe get out to a larger audience. And then this will be for the hardcore fans who, want to hear 4 hours of our damn rambles.
Yep. Sounds perfectly reasonable to me.
Perfect. Well, dude. Um, oh, and also I'm thinking probably we're looking at 2 or 3 of these a week, something like that. So,
Hmm.
I would say expect probably two. And then also there will be times where like, oh shit, Xbox just bought Remedy. And like, not they didn't, but if they did, that would be Loon and I, that's breaking news. We'd try to get in as quick as we could, and we would just record that like as a 45, 50 minute thing, and that won't be a part of an episode, an
Yeah,
official episode.
that's what I was gonna say. That would have to skip, obviously, unless we had other stuff that we could compile into it, but it's more than likely if it's something that's breaking that quick, that really does need its own dedicated thing, and it's like at a weird time and stuff like that, then yeah, we just have to hop on, do that, and then yeah,
Totally.
push that out.
Well, guys, that is that's pretty much our outlook on everything for Game and Ramble right now. I'm really really excited. This is the most optimistic I've felt in a while about the channel for sure. So I'm pumped to do all this shit, man, and I'm pumped to have the long form content out there for the people who prefer to listen that way. Because I'm that type of person, so I definitely want to make sure that I cater to people who are in that similar boat.
Yep. So what can they expect to hear from us this episode? What are all the video ideas that we got cooking up?
Yes, gonna talk some Titanfall 3 in this episode. Talk about the Switch 2 performance, I believe. Talk a little bit more about $80 games. Luna's going to be giving his review on Assassin's Creed Shadows. Let's see. Talk some Hades 2. It's going to be exclusive to the Switch. Talk a little bit about that. That might actually be something that we can figure out a way to cross into another video potentially, but that's kind of what I'm looking at on the docket here so far. Maybe talk a little Wolverine as well.
And Vagrus. Don't be cutting out my boy Vagrus.
Oh, yep, 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 right, Vegas. So it's that's kind of the I need to on our docket here that we share, I need to have like the plans for the topics for the week opposed
Mm,
to just the news, you know,
yep,
because like I don't have Shadows on here, I don't have Vegas. I'm gonna be I might be reviewing Fall depending on how much time we have as well.
yep.
Um and Yeah, but I don't have any of that on the dock because I just keep the news on the dock. And then I have a bunch of like topic ideas, but none that we're officially locking in. So once again, we're really early in this process. We're gonna tinker with it until we find out what works. But that's the rough idea for the show today, man.
Yep. So I shall transition over to OBS.
Perfect. And this is the moment here where y'all will uh y'all will get some behind the scenes details
Mm.
of how the sausage is made.
Get my awesome countdowns. Right. What did you want to begin with?
Let's talk. What I'm actually thinking is, how about we talk some Titanfall first?
All first, and then because I have to organize the videos that are all tabbed in order.
And what I was thinking is actually, let's upload Titanfall today
Hmm.
because that's kind of, I think that's going
Fresh.
to be the big story of the day. Um, unless something else breaks while we're recording. But yeah, it looks like Titanfall is going to be the big story of the day, and we'll record that, get that uploaded, and yeah, and I guess we maybe go ahead and prioritize some of the other news bits just
So
in case
Nintendo
we,
next, and then mix
yeah,
that in with Hades.
yep,
And then I've got Marvel's Wolverine.
hmm
I'll do that after,
yep, that'll work.
and then we'll do the two reviews.
Yep. And then
And
we'll
then
maybe
what
do
what what was the other thing that you mentioned?
Atomfall, did I say that?
There was another news thing, I think.
Let's see.
Titanfall, Nintendo price, Hades 2 being exclusive to the Switch,
The
and
$80
Insomnia.
games.
Okay, so that kind of
Same
moves
thing,
in with the okay.
Switch. Yeah. You can just run a Mario Kart World
Cool,
trailer, whatever.
cool, cool, cool. Let me go grab a Mario Kart trailer.
And that's the thing, guys, as well. There, there's there is going to be a little bit of downtime because when we go through this, we are preparing everything in real time, um, to do on the show. It's not like we're Loon's doing all the production work, which once again, thank you so much, Loon. But
No
uh,
problem.
with that being the case, it's not like we're going back and editing this. We're trying to get in the flow of like, okay, boom, we
Hmm.
record and we can immediately upload right after. That way we can be on time for some big news shit, which today is looking like it's not even really big news if we're being honest with Titanfall 3, but we'll get into all that.
Squeeze it for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Right, so Titanfall 2, the free Switch things, Wolverine, Shadows, Vagrus, and then you said Atomfall, which I'll grab.
I'll actually probably skip Atomfall and maybe we'll
I
do a
mean, I'll grab
topic
it.
instead.
I'll grab it just in case.
Because I think it might be fun to leave some stuff for the ranking and also
So what I
I
was actually thinking, other than big games like Shadows for me, how I'm going to be handling them, and obviously you don't have to follow suit in this. I'm just going to be using these little review things as things that I didn't finish,
Hmm.
more so than actually finished, because what I'll do is then for the end of month rankings, it'll just be everything I beat this month. Um, and then I can just do the
Impressions.
initial impressions is because if we're doing like 2 to 3 of these a video, it's very, very unlikely that I go through like 9 unfinished things in a month.
Right.
More than that. So
That's totally fine, man. Totally fine. Um,
you go
and
run behind the scenes.
yeah, absolutely. And I'm actually, that might be perfect because I'm going to do the opposite,
Okay.
where I'll probably save a lot of my impressions for the ranking and the games I totally finish, I'll do like a more in-depth review. But we both play games kind of the complete opposite way. So it works kind of perfect that we do it the opposite way for the reviews.
I think as well it's a good flow for the video of you being fairly like what do you call it? You going in depth into one area of the games. So the ones that you didn't finish more so.
That'll be the rankings, yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm doing it the other way around. So I think that's a good flow
Exactly.
for both video types. Cool.
Agreed, man.
Alrighty. Uh, ready whenever you wanna want me to count you in?
Yeah, go ahead, count me in.
3, 2, 1, let's go.
All right. So here we are. Titanfall 3. Titanfall fans cannot get a damn win, man. So it was reported today well, I saw it from Insider Gaming, but I don't want to butcher the name. Osvladartoyo Tarty. Apologies, but an account on Twitter who is a Apex leaker, which obviously Apex developed by Respawn, Titanfall developed by Respawn. You would think that maybe they have some connections. Well, it was leaked today by this account, and they were saying that Titanfall 3 is damn near complete, damn near ready to go, ready to be shipped. And then Jeff Grubb said in very like not mincing words at all. He was like, "No, this is 100% incorrect. This is none of this information is true." And it was just like this whirlwind of I saw it and I was like, Titanfall, yes, dude. Let's. We've been we talked about Oblivion the other day, where Oblivion has been through the cycle of, it's happening, it's happening, but it didn't happen. It's happening. We promise now. It's actually it didn't happen. And Titanfall is like another game right there where it's happening. Wait, no, it's not. And so here we are again. It's happening. Wait, no, it's not. Loon. How are you feeling? I know you're a big Titanfall 2 guy, just like myself. So, how is the whirlwind hitting you today?
Um, so it's such a weird thing because before we hopped on, we were obviously speaking about um the game itself and me saying it having an identity crisis. It's a very weird IP. It was exclusive to Xbox, the first game, along with it being a multiplayer only game. You couldn't play it single player. Then Titanfall 2 came out, and it kind of followed that trend of what EA was doing at that time, where they were trying to shun single player stories. And it was Respawn who not only gave that 1-2 punch, but they're solidifying in EA being like, no, people still want single player content, guys. Come on. Here, look at this. And as I said, Titanfall 2 is widely regarded as one of the best first person shooter campaigns of all time. And, you know, both of them Jedi games are also regarded as some of the best Star Wars games of all time. So Respawn know what they're doing when it comes to a narrative. And it's just unfortunate that when we get like a gargantuan multiplayer game that becomes the big cash cow, which is Apex, which is the sister series to this, because it's set in the Titanfall universe, uses a lot of the Titanfall's mechanics, weapons, and stuff like that. They're in no rush to get another game out in that series because while it's going strong, you don't really need to pump a ton of money into trying to develop a brand new title in the series. So when you initially put that into the docket, before it broke that it was a load of BS to put it simply, I didn't believe it because what I was thinking of is we heard very like strongly that the project had been canned. So it's very weird that it would have just continued in some capacity or didn't get canned at all because then it would have come out much earlier. What this smells of to me is a developer because you said it's from Respawn, right? Somebody who's like close to Respawn.
Right. Well, they're a leaker in the Apex sphere.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that if they have gotten correct information in the Apex sphere, that they might have some insider track into
What
Respawn, but
what this kind of smells like to me is he knows people who work at Respawn, and this is all speculation. I must add, this isn't me
of
being like, "Ah, I
course,
know stuff."
of course.
um, how I'm reading into it is what it feels like is he's maybe talking to people who work at Respawn and they're frustrated. They want to work on Titanfall 3, so it's like, they maybe verbally moan at him or something like that, or some conversation crosses over and they're grumbling that it's kind of unfortunate. So what he's probably done is, you know, poke the hornet's nest. If
Get
you
the
can
hype
get a
out there.
leak out there that is full BS, it doesn't exist, but you can generate buzz. It will give somebody in Respawn an excuse and an opportunity to then go to the board and be like, well, you canned it, but look how many like retweets this is getting. This is getting more buzz than Dragon Age. This is getting more buzz than this. This is getting more and stuff like that. And it will give them a compelling argument to be like, let's bring it back. So that's how
Totally.
I'm reading into it.
Well, and it's funny that we're talking about this after talking about Deus Ex a couple days ago, where it's almost the exact same feeling on my end personally, where I was like, I actually want to talk about this Deus Ex thing, not because it's good news, but because if we're talking about it and others are talking about it and millions more are talking about it and retweeting it, it's like, hey guys, here's a bunch of fucking traction for Deus Ex. Here's a bunch of fucking traction for Titanfall. Like
Yep.
maybe there is a little bit of juice left in this squeeze. Um, and so that's why I wanted to talk about it here today. Titanfall fans cannot catch a break. I get it, but hopefully with enough let's kind of let's stir this pot a little bit. Let's see if we can get something out there for, and I'm not saying we have the power to do it, but the collective we as internet people do have the power to make changes, you know?
No, that's exactly right. It doesn't matter how big or small you are. They all see it, whether or not you think that they don't. Like it's something that does appear. You have community managers and stuff like that that have to scroll through social. Their whole job is interacting with the community. So if they're being fed information that, oh, look, that's being reported, that's being reported, that's being reported. Okay, cool, cool, cool. And it's all positive, that they have to compile that and then they feed that back to whoever is their boss and stuff like that. That's
Yeah.
one of the main reasons of them existing in that job. Um, so like you said, in much like with Deus Ex, any buzz at all to give it any lifeline, I'll happily do. And I'll do that for Deus Ex, I'll do that for Titanfall because they're both IPs that really, really do deserve more.
Well, and it's I don't know how much I even want to talk about the information that was in the quote unquote Titanfall 3 leak because we know it's not real. But I mean, I don't know. Do you think we should kind of run down some of the information that
I mean, I'm
the
interested in hearing because being a fan, I'd probably be able to suss if it's within the realms of, reality or if it's completely blowing smoke up, the arse.
Right. Well, I'll hit you with the details out the gate, and then
Hmm.
you kind of pick apart whatever you want to pick apart after I got through it here. Um, Say it's being developed in Unreal Engine 5. It's almost complete. It has a single player campaign, live service with battle pass elements. The main mode is extraction. Yeah, I'm already starting to okay.
Mm,
Um, Other modes, TDM, control, arenas, all Titanfall 2 classic modes, some returning Apex characters, and a weather system. Yeah, okay. If I'm being real, like I, as we do these news shows on kind of a, we're getting the news as it comes in pretty quickly. I didn't look over this as much as I probably should have. There's a lot of that's just too much game. That's immediately my first thing is there's just too much game there for a day one launch, maybe for planned content down the road possibly, but
but
like
you wouldn't
day
you
one,
wouldn't have that penned yet. You
right?
wouldn't have all that penned. I also struggle to see it being pushed in on like what people need to also remember. Dude, EA is just so stubborn. They're like Bethesda. They will force Frostbite. They used Frostbite
Yeah.
engine for Dragon Age Velgard. It was an
Hmm.
RPG. It's designed for Battlefield, for Christ's sake. Um, so that was like the first big red flag. That doesn't mean they won't use it. Of course, they supposedly the Oblivion remake is using Unreal instead of the Creation Engine and stuff like that. But yeah, that was like a big red flag. The weather stuff as well. What that sounds like is more so a Battlefield game, is what they've listed. Because that them rumors are kind of linking. Because that's apparently what the new Battlefield game will have as an extraction mode that they're going to really push instead of the what was it called? Hazard Zone is what they launched with in 2042. It was very, very heavily underbaked. I think they're going to try and take it a little bit more seriously with C looking over the fence and being like, man, Tarkov isn't something that like peaked and then fell off. Like it's it's like DayZ kind of thing, like where it just stuck around. So it's kind of a thing, and the battle royale buzz and stuff like that. So I don't know if you would throw that into a Titanfall game, if I'm being 100% honest, because it's always been the weaker IP when viewed. That it was the one that
Right.
they happily threw to the wolves against Battlefield. Um, so yeah, I don't see it getting that much love personally.
Right. What do you, so let's just go completely fan, let's kind of leave the rumors and all that shit behind because obviously none of it is true. Um, let's talk just from a fan perspective, where in a scenario where we do get a Titanfall 3, what do you want to see from that? Is there anything like, because my immediate thing is, oh, damn, what they did with that Rift technology that Ratchet and Clank kind of really used as their marketing beat for the PS5. Titanfall 2 was doing that with, rendering in two worlds simultaneously on the PS4. It was to a smaller degree, but it's like, golly, what could they do with, PS5, Series X,
I'm
and
gonna be 100% honest. I don't think they bring that back.
oof.
I don't think that's going to be something that they revisit. It's kind of like what that felt like is so many games were utilizing it. Do you remember the slew of games that came out doing that? You had a Dishonored that had the same thing, using it with
Yeah.
the switching in between. Yeah, like the medium rendering two worlds at once. Like it
Mhm.
seemed like a an exciting thing to explore because of the capabilities with that later generation of technology and SSDs becoming more and more widely available. I don't think that it doesn't wow people as much as they expected it would. Like it kind of it's so hard to please a gamer now. So to do
Yeah.
something like that, which takes a lot of work, they're probably thinking, well, why bother? Let's just keep it simple.
Yeah.
Um, what I would probably envision, and again, this is just I've played enough multiplayer game, you can kind of see where trends go. There is a gap now because I don't know if Planet Side 2 is still even up and like kicking. I don't know if they shut that down or if it's like on life support. But something like that could separate it. Having like massive, say 50 versus 50 battles with them Titans, that would be something to set itself apart.
Hmm.
Um, I don't foresee them going down like the Helldivers route where it's PvE content because there is a hugely dedicated multiplayer community to the Titanfall 2 multiplayer.
Hmm.
There's even when they were talking about shutting down Titanfall 1 servers and stuff, there was massive uproar and stuff. So yeah, I could see them doing that because it's the usual EA thing. It's bigger is always better. So I could just see them increasing player counts and just making it more of a spectacle.
Yeah. It's uh, obviously my main thing is the single player. I thought Titanfall 2 had an all-time great single player campaign. And I do think some of the, weather and then like having some sort of dynamic weather system, like there's some really cool shit that could be on offer, maybe slightly bigger locations, but at the same time, I welcome just a totally, linear first person shooter, old school 2008 feeling campaign as well.
Mm.
Um, but like you said, that's the thing of how do you separate yourself from what else is on the market, and which in a weird way, kind of going back to an old school format in the AAA space could be something that actually does separate yourself because it's not seen in AAA to have a single player linear first person shooter campaign. But I guess the big thing is we don't think this is true, obviously,
No.
but if it is, if there's any chance, any hope, any shred of possibility that it is true, the timing couldn't be worse again for Titanfall, where it's like you could see it getting revealed at Summer Game Fest, and then EA could potentially pull a Titanfall 2 with Titanfall 3 and be like, okay, it's going to launch October 27th. And then 2 weeks later, GTA 6 is like, yeah, we're going to launch November 4th. It's like, oh,
And the
Jesus.
rumor is that the new Battlefield's next year. So
Right.
it has no chance in hell. This is the thing. While I was talking about it being a doomed IP, it just yeah, it's just really unfortunate.
Yeah. It's the Horizon Zero Dawn of first person shooters, where it's like it just releases at all the worst times. But I don't know, I know Titanfall 2 didn't sell nearly as well as it should have, but I also there is something about third games becoming the game. The Witcher 3, Fallout 3, Baldur's Gate 3, Grand Theft Auto 3. Like there's something about third tries. And I'm not saying that's a universal. Of course, sometimes you get a Mass Effect too.
It's also just as cursed though. We never got Half-Life free. We never got Helix
Mm,
free.
Yeah, Left 4 Dead 3,
Yeah,
Portal 3, you're not, yeah. But that I guess that's just a Valve thing and well, like you said, there's Elix and there's some other
but
stuff
yeah,
out there
I
that
get what you're saying.
yeah.
Knights of the Old Republic free.
I swear to God, I was about to say Knights of the Old Republic 3. I literally just looked at a case of Knights of the Old Republic 2 right over there. Um, and yeah, I do think that I think that Titanfall 3 just based on the good word of mouth from the community, I think Titanfall 3 would pop off if it did launch in 2025. As long as it avoids GTA 6 and Battlefield and Call of Duty and like be smart with it, but I do think it could pop off. Well, dudes, that's unfortunately the news for Titanfall 3. It's looking like the news is that there is no news, but I once again, I feel like it's just worth putting out there into the ether, into the sphere of ears of corporate fucking people that hey, this we want this thing to exist. Please allow this thing to exist. Um, yeah. Not to keep on going down this because we got a lot of other shit to record here, but it's what do you so Jedi, I'm assuming Jedi, the next Jedi game is probably an early PS6 title or so. They're really, really productive over there with Fallen Order 2019, Survivor in 2023. So a whatever 4 year gap there, like 4 years for AAA development for games of that scale and games of that leap from going from Fallen Order, which was pretty scaled back to damn near
Because
open
they,
world.
I'm gonna say this, and I don't know if people will agree with me. We've seen a trend where I think we talked about it as a topic before. You don't see, I don't want to be rude here though, but screw it. I'm just gonna like completely off cuff it. There's not as much brain power being used by developers, if that makes sense. I'm not saying that they're stupid and lazy. What I'm saying is when there was games back in the PS2 era and stuff, they had to be very, very smart with the hardware, which then forced their arm, which then forced them to be creative. We've seen an upward trend of the hardware's outpaced to the point where they don't even need to bother optimizing anymore. You
Hmm.
see the states that PC games get dropped in, like Capcom right now, for instance. Capcom has a terrible PC port of Monster Hunter Wilds, but no one cares because it
Right.
runs. It's just not good. It's not running well, but it's just yeah. People just seem to accept that now.
Yeah.
Um, I think Respawn's kind of stockpiled a lot of them people who are from that old from them years ago. Because you've seen developers like split off and then they go make their own stuff. I think Respawn's got a massive core which doesn't get credited enough, where they've kept a lot of the people around and they're just very, very good at what they do. Because you look at even I know Titanfall 1 also wasn't particularly successful, but to get that running on a 360 in the
Right.
way they did,
Yeah.
that's incredible. You have Titanfall 2 doing what it did with the time shift thing. That's incredible. Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order, both really, really well-made games. Like, and this is what I mean as well. When it's them two, they were done in fairly quick succession as well, with fairly limited resources compared to other counterparts in the industry. When you're looking around, like, it's crazy.
Well, and it's like I think too, you talking about them being smart with um keeping a stable structure for the team, but I also think that they're smart in terms of properly reusing assets without it feeling cheap.
Hmm.
They're, they're smart about, okay, well, there's certain things we can carry over while pretty much rebuilding the entire framework for the world you're going to explore, the characters you're going to interact with, the move set. But like, there are a lot of things that carry over. You're still a fucking dude swinging a sword that swings the sword the exact same way that the first game swings the sword, but now you have two swords that you can swing. And like, so they're not trying to reinvent the entire combat system of how the game plays from a moment to moment basis. You still have the same force powers, but you have new force powers as well. And So my hope with that is that they go in and because I assume that the next Jedi game is going to be the last Jedi game from them. Um, and I hope that they don't just throw away the third person action adventure game because I would love to see them take what they have there and just make a new game where you play in third person and you have a fucking sword and you're going in some, like the sci-fi game that they scrapped where or not the sci-fi game, the bounty hunter, the Star Wars bounty hunter game that they
Yeah.
scrapped. Like just make a third person bounty hunter game that is a new IP that you totally own, that you totally do not have to share any profit with with Disney whatsoever.
Well, yeah, they have it's under EA as well. If they really wanted to play it completely safe, you could even tag that to the Mass Effect IP and make a Mass Effect
Right.
bounty hunting game where you play as Cerberus operative or something. Like the exactly, this is my like
Dude,
it's the
yes.
kind of thing where like you have a massive, massive amount of options, but nobody ever thinks to bring them forward, or they just don't get listened to. It's one of them two things, and because I've never been in a boardroom between them, I will never know what is actually happening. But it's one of them two options. So
Yeah. I do think I think that CEOs and executives and shit, they probably get a little bit too much hate in terms of like people being like anybody can do it. No, I don't think anybody can do those jobs. But I do sometimes like look at certain decisions and I'm like, I think I could do your job better than you're doing your job. But that's I once again, I
that's the
that's
thing, though.
such a
That's us critiquing it when it goes wrong. Everything is
exactly.
the kind of thing of like you never pay attention to if you go into a public toilet and it's clean. You don't. It's just
Yeah.
functioning, and it's just like, well, that's to be expected, and that's the kind of thing. And when you go in there and it's not clean, it's like, man, come on, the hell's going
Right.
on? This is a shit show, literally. So
Yeah.
I get what you say, because to drag it out, Bobby Kotick got a lot of shit, but he's a very smart man, and not enough people give him
Yeah.
enough credit. Like his fourth sight into the future.
He
The guy
took
knows
fuck
his stuff, man. Like
yeah.
even if you don't like him, he's just a savvy businessman.
Right. And that's the thing is like I think a lot of these people are actually bad people, but sometimes it takes bad people to run trillion-dollar, billion-dollar enterprises. Like I don't know if you can have much of a soul and make some of the decisions that had to be made on that high of a level. And for example, with Activision with Bobby Kotick going from fucking damn near bankruptcy to the biggest video game publisher in the world, like yeah, you gotta give credit where it's due.
Nah, I
And
could have done
right.
that.
Yeah, but you also can look at decisions that have been made and actions that the people have shown from a personal standpoint and be like, yeah, you're probably not a great human, but hopefully EA gives Respawn the green light to do whatever the fuck they want to do and doesn't meddle. Stop meddling. That team is as talented as it gets in the industry. Go ahead and cook you up something good over there, and hopefully, maybe, possibly, probably not, but I pray that we see a Titanfall 3 someday. Um, this is Game N Ramble. Thank you all for listening in, tuning in, watching. Subscribe, like, rate, review, which you don't even have to rate and review because it's a YouTube video. I guess that's not even a functionality on a YouTube video. We appreciate you for tuning in. And yeah, share the video around with some buddies if you think this is solid and you like old school game coverage like this. Um, yeah, that's about it that I have for you guys. We appreciate you so much.
See you later.
Goodbye.
Right. That's that. Moving on.
I forgot to give my patented goodbye before. Yeah,
I did cut it as well, so unfortunately you went like that. So,
no,
there we
dude.
go.
That's
That
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 is
can be something people can laugh at for that long form content. You get to
exactly.
you get to you get to see the fucking bloopers.
Yeah. That yes, dude. This is I was a little bit nervous doing the having everything be recorded. Whenever we first started, I was like, fuck, I feel like we kind of gotta because if we're being real, you and I aren't typically entertaining after we record something. You know what I mean? Like we're not trying to you get what I'm saying? We're not trying to like there will
These
be
are the
minutes that
stings I have to deal with, guys, off camera. See?
But neither of us, though. There will be minutes that go by where we're actually just working on stuff and like talking about a thumbnail and talking about little things that are not at all, I wouldn't suspect, compelling to most viewers or listeners.
Um, I think in them specific instances, we can put if it's like both us going a toilet break and stuff. I'd expect
Right.
them to be sitting there and be like, it's been dead silent for 3.5 minutes. The
But I
hell's
guess
going on?
that's kind of what I was thinking is like even when I was going, yeah, I don't think this stuff's all that compelling. There is bits in there that are going to be compelling, like, oh shit, they just totally fucked that up, but here's them talking about the fuck up. So, um, you want to go ahead
Self-aware.
and upload that one, and I will I'll go ahead and throw the thumbnail on it and get it out there.
Hopefully, this doesn't screw anything up. I've never done this before.
I'll doing it all at the same time.
Hmm. We shall see.
All right. If it, I mean, we could, it's not like it's the biggest deal in the world. We could wait.
No, man, we need that that EA
Titanfall 3
money.
bread. Give me that. Yeah. Give me that EA shill money, as we just call their executives, soulless, soulless humans. Man,
Alrighty. I just titled it Titanfall.
perfect. And and we can obviously, while that's uploading, Um, 30 seconds to upload. That is fucking insane, Loon. If I were to upload the same video, it would literally take me 2 hours.
Well,
That is crazy.
here we be. Here we be, guys.
I'm gonna title it Titanfall 3 Can't Catch a Break.
Gotta make
Let's
sure I
see.
don't close it down while it's mid-upload as well.
Yeah,
But yeah, guys, how's that truck driving going? You having fun? You're staying safe?
dude. Um, I I've been binging. I haven't been playing any games in the past couple days. I have been binging 1998 WWF pay-per-views, just
Oh, really?
binging them like a maniac.
Oh,
Uh,
man.
I'm trying to go through. Well, hey, you know what? Fuck it. That'll actually be pretty cool. This is something that I don't have any. Hold on. Hold on one second.
He's abandoned us. On earth are they? I saw that Union Jack. What was that Union Jack I saw?
What's that?
So what was that Union Jack I saw repping the home country?
Oh, um, yes, we have Mayhem in Manchester. So,
Oh.
so yeah, for those of you who are, for whatever reason, watching this long ass thing, in the video you'll see a bunch of old WWF VHS tapes.
Oh, you still
Um,
have a thing that can play a VHS as well?
oh yeah, I got a old school
Dude,
CRT TV.
kudos.
Yeah, where it has the
Kudos.
VHS, like it's a TV with the VHS player connected to it, like it's in all in one compacted. Um, but yeah, I've been going through and buying just like old, just for a quick show and tell.
Are they
Old,
like how like
super
valuable?
cheap.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's why I've been buying them. They're mostly like 10, 15 bucks for all of them. Um, and so I'm going through 1998 right now. I just finished up 1998 and I'm about to start 1999. I still have a few more pay-per-views to buy from 1998, but just like, I don't know, some of the artwork, Stone Cold's old bald head with nails in it.
With Pinhead
Yeah.
or
It's just,
Hellraiser,
I
whatever
don't
his
know.
name is.
This this era was so important to me for
Hmm.
wrestling. And like with a lot of the content going to Netflix, and Netflix has removed every single episode of Raw from like 2001 to 2022. So I'm just like, man, fuck this. I need some actual way to access this stuff. And
It's
so,
it's what really I know people have turned around and said about like obviously the digital future and everything, but it's what worries me. It's not so much the fact that obviously it's a big thing of it of like the actual physical media itself being the way to preserve it going away and stuff and not being supported, but once that's gone and that's not like a format that you can use to watch that, they can then pick and choose what they keep around themselves after that fact.
yeah,
Because you saw it with Disney when they uploaded all the classic stuff. They started making alterations to it. They ended up cutting things. Some things never made it and stuff like that. It's just like I thought we already figured this out, guys. You just give a disclaimer at the start and just say it's a period piece. From that time, things have changed. Like, how hard is it
totally.
to do that? And then that just completely eliminates those same people working there are most likely not even alive, if we're being
Yeah,
honest. You're talking about like the original, say, Snow White and stuff. That was like 40s, was it not 50s,
yeah,
60s? Like, those people that worked on the movies were probably in their 30s and they're not here anymore. Like, it's still a piece of art that needs to be preserved, though. You can't just like pick and choose it. So that's the big
absolutely.
thing of what worries me.
Well, and it's like I'm grabbing these not because I'm watching them digitally. I'm watching them on Peacock, but I'm grabbing them more so to have for because it. Listen, I know VHS isn't going to be that's not going to be the way to preserve this shit. But I know that you can download all of this shit digitally if you really want. Like you can go and grab all of these digitally. You can burn them to a disk, and then you can preserve them that way. I'm such a fucking weirdo and so scared of doing anything illegal. It's like, all right, I'm gonna make sure I have all of the content right here. That way,
See
whenever
that?
I burn it,
That's not illegal though. The legal thing
I
is
know.
if you no, if you have a physical copy of it and then you burn it, that's legal because that's why Nintendo can't shut down a lot of the stuff that still floats around is because
Right.
technically you're allowed to put the thing in there and take that data as long as you still own the physical copy.
Hmm.
It's when if you were to get rid of it, then they would be able to be like knocking on you and be like, "Oh, well, you own an illegal copy of this."
Yeah.
That's and obviously that's extremely hard to enforce. You don't really
Right.
know, but that's basically the law of that. So
Yeah.
you're going about it the right way if you choose to burn them.
Yeah, which at some point I'm probably gonna have to because I don't think these VHS tapes will. What I'm really hoping for more than anything is, and not to go into a full WWF fucking tangent, but I'm hoping that they'll preserve their own fucking history because they did an excellent job of doing that with the WWF network or WWE
Hmm.
network. But I right now I don't have a lot of confidence in Netflix doing it for them. So we'll see, man. But
Yep. Right, I
yeah,
just need to
I'm gonna
quickly go to the toilet.
yeah,
Be
perfect
like,
because I'm gonna timestamp this video real quick.
okay, cool. Did you want me to pull Zoom or are you gonna keep them company?
Yeah, pause it. That'd be perfect.
Okay. Right.
It's a part of the thing.
Oh boy, do we got a actual breaking news story for you all? Jesus Christ.
Guys, so we listen. You're getting a lot of exclusive content in this episode that the other listeners will not be getting. Um so all of that Titanfall 2 talk that we just did there, unless there's an issue on the Zoom end as well, but I don't think there is. We ran into a little issue on OBS with the gameplay footage. There was I don't know exactly what it was, but it pretty much cut off anytime we were talking, it cut us off from
Do you
talking
know what I'm gonna
whenever the
do
gameplay
right now? You
run
just
a test.
explain it. I'm gonna do it again
Yep.
without it
Perfect.
thingied,
Yeah.
and we're gonna
So
just see.
pretty much whenever we were talking the gameplay, anytime it ran, it would cut us off, and there was no audio on the gameplay, but there was also no audio on us for whatever reason. So we're trying to work that out on the technical end. It's technology is a bitch, man. It's the absolute worst part of doing any of this stuff. Talking about games is as fun as it gets, but all of the tech shit is beyond miserable. So We apologize, guys. Trying to figure everything out as we go along. Um, but hopefully y'all got some exclusive
Oh
Titanfall talk.
no. It wasn't the fade transition. I've figured it out.
What was it?
So when I go and hide it, when it's hidden, it hides your audio as well. So when you're gonna, if you to scroll and you probably hear my audio at some point during it because it's still
Okay.
my microphone's still live when this shows. But when I hide it for you now, if you talk,
Okay.
you're not on this. So what I'm gonna have to do is layer that on top of that. There we go.
So we should be
I've
good
fixed
now.
it. Yeah,
Okay.
it wasn't the fade. I knew it. You you
So
yeah, you spoke bad of me. And
no,
rightfully so, I screwed it up, but it wasn't
I
for that reason.
I was just trying to figure out what the hell it could possibly
No, no,
be.
it was the only thing that we changed, but it wasn't at the same time. Right, that's fucking annoying. Why does
We
it
do
do
still
that?
have that weird thing with the fade though, right there. You see that where we're on top of the gameplay? I don't care about
Is
that
that
though.
always for the whole thing?
No. So as it fades, watch the fade. The fade is going to happen right here in
Right,
about 5 seconds. Four, three, two, one. Okay, let's try again. Four. There. See, it fades, and then
right.
it fades behind us. I don't know why. And then it just keeps running, and then it comes back.
Yeah, that's fine.
You cool with that?
That was intended.
Oh, okay. So you want the
The
gameplay
we
to.
move over. It should have been done quicker. Don't get me wrong, but that was just me being a bit slow on the transition.
Okay, yeah, I don't. It doesn't bother me as long as the audio is clear. I don't really care about the
Yep, that's
any
fine.
of the rest of the stuff.
Oh boy. Well, there you go. If they want to hear that story, they'll have to go over there.
There's the
And
anxiety of
hopefully it's
live
not
production.
screwed. It shouldn't
On
do because
Zoom.
it is the Zoom recording.
Yeah, it'll be
So it's
totally
got
fine on
no
Zoom.
interaction with OBS. So it should be. Man, what a goof. What a
Hey,
goof.
bro, it is a part of the like I do. It is totally okay. It is a part of the. I wouldn't even be able to get this thing functional if I was trying to run OBS in
It's
real
just really
time. And
weird to me, but it is complete user error. It's got nothing. It's not a dig at OBS at all. That's completely me just not understanding. Because that makes sense when I think about it. If you're gonna hide something, you'd hide everything. So it will hide the audio as well. Whereas if you layer something on top of it, that's still in behind the background, still functioning. So yeah, that was my bad.
and if we're being real, dude, that wasn't a story anyway. Like,
Good
it's a
thing we found that
non-story.
out early though. Woo.
Yeah, that's a
Right.
non-story.
Let's not fuck this Nintendo one up though.
So, how should we go about talking about this? Do you want to go bit by bit? I think that probably makes the most
So
sense.
how I've got it layered per se in tabs is Nintendo Switch 2 overview trailer. So it runs through showing the Switch 2. I don't think there's anything out there that shows the price in a trailer from them officially. They've not
Hmm.
done that yet. So that's the only thing that'd be missing. Then I do Mario Kart World and then Hades 2.
Yeah, you know what? Let's power through some of these news stories and let's talk about the power of it first,
Okay.
where the Digital Foundry is essentially saying it's the Switch 2 is pretty much as powerful as a PS4.
Mhm. Right. Do you want me to count you in?
Yeah, let's go.
Right, 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
All right, so here we are. This is Game N Ramble. Thank you all for tuning in to talk a little Switch to hardware, because old Digital Foundry they reported recently, I'll go ahead and read the quote here. Broadly speaking, it's helpful to think of the Switch 2 as kind of like, roughly a PS4 level in terms of comparable titles. But it can do so much more in terms of storage, bespoke graphical features. Possibly the CPU is also faster. Final Fantasy VII Remake, the presentation is a PS4 The presentation is PS4 levels or thereabouts. So broadly speaking, quite comparable to PS4, if not actually a bit more of a favorable experience compared to PS4. Switch 2 as a first generation ballpark, so to speak, PS4 is a very good comparison point, I think. So that is coming from Digital Foundry, and I found that from mynintendonews.com. So Loon, PS4 around that level of power for the Switch 2. Um, talking about 450 bucks, which I believe the PS4, if I'm not mistaken, launched at 399, which of course count for inflation, all of that. I still don't think the price tag is horrible. 450 for a PS4. I don't think that is awful. And I do think this will end up being a little bit more powerful than just a PS4. And the Digital Foundry is even alluding to that in the read up there, where it's like it's not going to
Yeah,
be just that.
no, because obviously it's got new features that the PS4 can't utilize. What is it? DLSS, I believe, will be over on there. So
I think so.
there's stuff that it will have that the PS4 won't. The thing is it's the same with like what I have right now and what I'm using to record this on a laptop. Anything that's smaller than a dedicated, say, so the desktop PC or laptop, the desktop PC, when it has the same quote unquote spec, it will run better than a laptop. You know, when they brand like a NVIDIA GTX 4060, for instance, the desktop GPU equivalent of that is always going to be stronger than what you have to cram into a laptop. And it's the same with a handheld. Like even if it had the same quote unquote specs, it would probably have to sacrifice in some ways. And what you're going to see is the stability is what worries me. Is when we were looking at stuff like that, like there were of course games that ran wobbly on the PS4, but for the most part, that whole generation was showing not so much graphical fidelity being pushed; it was just getting stable frame rates across the board, and that's something that for me that put me off with the Nintendo Switch One, where they hadn't figured that out. So if they figured it out with the Switch Two when it comes out, then that's really good. But I don't know. I don't. They don't strike me as like an optimization driven company. They don't really care because right now they
No.
can't really do any wrong.
Yeah, for their first party software, they're pretty good about making very optimized experiences. As soon as you buy the card, you're gonna boot it up. It's gonna run well, decently well. But third parties do struggle to get that shit working on
I mean,
Switches.
even
Third,
first party has been struggling in certain instances as well, though. Like we was talking about the thing where I was playing Breath of the Wild and it was chugging. You had
right.
that Pokemon game, was it Arceus?
Yeah.
Where it's like that to me, of all the things that should be used to be put under a microscope, it's that. Where it's Pokemon. That's their big selling factor IP for the masses. You know, that's the addictive crowd more so than the family friendly Mario stuff where you target the family and the kids. Pokemon is bridging all of them gaps. So to see that they were happy to just kick that out, I don't know. It really does give me pulls of like, well, how much like quality control do you really have over there?
Yeah, and I don't want to excuse Nintendo, but that's a major problem with Game Freak in general. It's just they don't release high quality Pokemon games almost ever. And I do think when you look at the difference between Kirby or a Zelda or a Mario Odyssey or a whatever, there is definitely a much higher quality bar for those specific Nintendo owned first party IP.
Yep.
Um, but I do hear what you're saying, and I think we even talked about it whenever we were doing the live stream reaction to the Switch 2 unveiling, um, where I was like, I think we're going to see a lot of smoke and mirrors here. I think we're going to see a system that is revealed with a lot of third-party content, but all of that third-party content is last generation. When you think of Street Fighter 6, that is on the PS4. When you think of Cyberpunk, that is on the PS4. When you think of Elden Ring, that is on the PS4. Final Fantasy VII Remake, is on the PS4. Yakuza, Hogwarts, like those are games that are on the PS4. I don't know if there was a single reveal at that event that was a next gen only title. You know what I mean?
I mean, the thing is, what people current gen title it's
Yeah, right,
it's
current
no
gen.
longer like that's the thing of people still latch onto that. It's such a weird time in gaming that phrase still gets kicked around next gen and stuff.
Right.
We're like, how
We're
many
5 years
years
in.
exactly? This that was never ever uttered in any other generation. There
Yeah.
was never that big of like a crossover period to this degree, where it's kind of the lines of blood. And I think that's also in favor of like why Nintendo's getting away with it. Because a lot of people still have that mindset of it's still the PS4 generation.
Right.
So hearing that it's as powerful as a PS4 does them buckets of good, really, for many.
Right. And thinking about it now, Borderlands 4 was revealed for the Switch 2. So does that mean Borderlands 4 is about to come to PS4 and Xbox One? Like,
Yeah.
that is crazy, man. And maybe that game isn't a graphical powerhouse, but you would still think that you're going to want a very, very solid, in terms of frame rate, you're going to want that 60 frames per second locked in. You don't want to, in which it should be, I would assume on PS5, and you'll probably get 30 or 40 on Switch and PS4, but or Switch 2 and PS4, but it's still like the lowest denominator. We talk about it all the time with the Series S, where it's like where you have to develop for the Series S, you are essentially, or lower end PCs, that's all holding back what you can develop for the high end PCs and for the PS5s and the Series X's. And yeah, it's it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting times ahead because we didn't. The thing that also people haven't put into consideration is Nintendo was largely shunned by third-party developers for two generations. Like they didn't really do, they gave them unique version builds of games. When Call of Duty came to the Nintendo Wii, it wasn't the same Call of Duty that we were getting everywhere else. And the same with the Wii U, they were getting their own like exclusive things, and even less so with the Wii U. The Wii U just got dumped. I remember what was it, Ubisoft coming out, or it was either Ubisoft or EA that really just was like, yeah, we don't have any interest in putting our stuff over there
Yeah.
at all. So we've never really had them be in the strongest position player base wise and having actual control over, tethering back progression for the whole games industry like the Series S, because the Series S has been kicked for that really
Yeah.
heavily. The Switch 2 is comparable to a PS4 that's weaker than a Series S. So does that mean it's dragging back the industry? Is anybody going to be uttering them words? No, they won't.
Well, and I think we also maybe should talk about, does the industry need to move forward? You know what I mean? I think we're at a weird point where, like, I could see someone making a compelling argument that I'd be willing to listen to the 30-minute video essay on, where it's like, we need to stop. We need to, like, take in a second, freeze, hold up. Budgets are ballooning. This is unsustainable. Developers are shutting down at rampant. Like, developers are losing their jobs like crazy because you're making $500 million games. Like, hold on, hold on, hold on. Maybe not everybody should be doing that. Maybe Rockstar should be doing that. Maybe Naughty Dog should be doing that. Maybe, developers who actually have a sell through rate that would warrant a $500 million budget should be doing that. But maybe Immortals of Avium shouldn't fucking do that. Maybe Callisto Protocol shouldn't do that.
I mean, I'd go even further and harder in a comment and say nobody should be doing that. It's not sustainable to set that precedence for the industry at all. I know Rockstar isn't going to get punished for it, but it's not a good thing to basically, because you have then CEOs who step in and stuff like that. And when they are looking around at their competitors, that's the goal. So they will try and push towards that goal, especially if they have no knowledge of gaming. So yeah, I don't like that at all. I think what we're gonna see, I was having this thought earlier, and I'm so glad that I like held on to it. We had Japan literally save the market back in like the 80s and the 90s and stuff with Nintendo and PlayStation keeping, video games alive as we know it because they just bombed everywhere else. I think it's actually Europe's turn to pick up that torch moving forward. Like Japan's doing well, don't get me wrong. Like they're doing really well with their RPGs, but you look over and see not to not to be mean, they're not doing as much as they probably could. They are being extremely, extremely smart though. And that's the big difference is that Europe with people like Warhorse are keeping very thin budgets, but doing a lot with it. You had CDPR, yeah, to a lesser extent with Cyberpunk that did kind of get out of hand and stuff. But you have these European studios who Rebellion's a great example right now. They've been very, very smart and very risk adverse with the Sniper Elite series and being very, very intelligent with what they pick as their next venture. And Adamfall right now is probably their best received game in decades.
They said it's their biggest launch ever.
Exactly. And this is what I mean. And there is no way that that took a ton of money to build
No.
because I don't even need to see the numbers to know that because I know what Rebellion do, and they don't splash cash. They
Yeah.
just don't. So yeah, I think I would want that scaled back across the board. I think people. I know this is going to sound horrible. I think obviously you can't really do it without affecting jobs that currently exist. But if you're going to be starting up a studio, don't start it up in the US. That's the worst
No.
possible thing to do right now. It's just not 100-man studio in the US compared to a 100-man studio in Europe. Because this is what makes me laugh at people being baffled that Expedition exists. Because it's being developed in Europe with a very small team. There's no rush from investors. They're just being smart with their budget. They've
Well,
picked and choose their shots, and this is what needs to happen with the industry if they want it to survive.
and you're paying 100 grand per developer in the US
Yeah.
on average, and it's half that in almost anywhere else in the world for game development. I think China is where you're going to see the largest uptick, but
Hmm.
definitely Europe, China. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, India. Like I think you're going to see a huge uptick in global development instead of this, you're going to have Eastern, Western. I think it's going to become much more of a global thing where it's like, oh yeah, China has fucking 15 games released this year that are all 85 and higher. It's like, oh, well, wonderful. And yeah, I think you're right. That's where we're going to see a lot of development switch where non-traditional publishers start to form, non-traditional developers start to pop up. And then I think what you're going to see in the West and the US specifically is individual developers, local thunk with Balatro. And you're going to see a lot of very small teams in the US who have that kind of upstart mentality again, that spirit of we're gonna work like fucking maniacs because it's unfortunately you don't ever want to vouch for crunch, you don't ever want to support that, but it is the unfortunate thing where I don't know if game development in the US can work without crunch just because of how expensive it is to develop games here,
Yep.
at least on the AAA level. Double A, less or so, indie, much less so. But um,
No,
yeah,
you can't have the best of both worlds in its current state. You can't have a company where they don't crunch and you're getting AAA games out in a 5-year period. It's just not how they're designed anymore. That just doesn't happen.
yeah, especially not in the
Um,
US.
no, no, and that's the thing that I was drawing. It is just heavily a United States problem. And unfortunately, whether people want to acknowledge that or not, they are where most studios are situated. For Christ's sake, even
Yep.
Sony moved over there. That's a Japanese company that moved its headquarters over to the US.
Yeah.
And if I'm being 100% honest, I think they're regretting it big time of having to play ball much more with American mindsets. You look at like how much budgets are balloon like since that shift and that whole time period, it's just been a downward spiral for them, pretty much.
I'd push back on that. I mean, they got all of their biggest hits from the West. You know, The Last of Us, Horizon,
No, but then having that
Uncharted.
no, I'm saying having that mindset of moving forward now with
Oh yeah.
budgets ballooning. That's what I'm saying of them going over because they only transitioned over a few years ago, within the past 2 years, moving their headquarters from Japan to America, and that's
Okay,
when
I see
that
what you're saying.
spiral has been. It They were struggling back and forth with a few titles, a hit, a miss, a hit, a miss, and then it's just been look how many projects have been cancelled
Right.
because
Okay, I
you
see
have a
what you're
lot
saying.
more American minds in the room saying we need to do it this way, and they have a lot more influence. And look
Yeah.
what's happening because it's people looking around and not knowing what to do.
Okay. I thought you were saying that they are regretting kind of shifting away from your fat princesses and your, you know, kind of the smaller scale.
No,
Okay. I see what you're
no.
saying. You're
I'm
you're
just
saying
saying like
just
general,
doing business.
yeah, just general budget allocation has just been atrocious in the past
Totally.
few years. And it's you can turn around and go, that's a coincidence, but I think they were very, very, very intelligent for a very long period of time with how they set aside their budgets, which won them that PlayStation 4 generation. They
Yeah.
weren't stupid. They went and did business, and that's what they really need to get back to doing. And hopefully they do.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, guys, Switch 2 looking about as powerful as a PlayStation 4. So I would assume maybe PS4 Pro. We can give it PS4 Pro. I don't know if we're talking base PS4 here. We'll say as powerful as a PS4 Pro, I'm assuming, somewhere in that range. Maybe slightly under a Series S, somewhere in that PS4 Pro range. I hope. I really hope, man. I we're
We'll
gonna get into
see.
a full
I don't think it is because I'll be honest, I'll rip the band-aid off. I think a lot of the squeezing juice of the power is AI stuff where it's faking out. It's kind of like how a lot of consoles haven't achieved native 4K. A lot of it is upscaling
right.
by AI. Um, I think it's probably on paper, maybe mildly stronger than a base PS4, but it's going to
Yeah.
pretend and smoke and mirrors its way as being a lot stronger than it is.
Yeah. I don't really mind the price point for the Switch 2. I mind the price point for the games. So we'll cut here because we're going to get into a whole conversation about the games, about the $80 price point, as we got some news and information about that. But yeah, that's our thoughts on the hardware, the state of game development, a whole bunch of rambles. That's the beauty of this channel. That's why it's called Game N Ramble, my friends.
Yep.
You tune in and the rambles are going to spin out of
Think
control.
you're getting
So
one thing and you get 15 others. There you
but you'll always get the one thing as well. We
go.
don't clickbait you. We don't clickbait you too bad at least. So appreciate you for tuning in. Stick around if you like the content, and we shall see you very soon. Goodbye.
Feel it. Oh, there's that. Locked in.
Cool. I'm in no rush to get that one
Cool.
uploaded. Um,
So I'll run Mario Kart and Hades 2 of that upcoming one, right?
yeah. Well, do you want to? Let's see. Yeah, yeah, we can do that one.
Cool. And I'll
Uh,
cut out the. Or did you want a video running of that Switch 2 as well? Base video? Or just the Mario Kart and Hades? Because it's going to be about the software now, right? Rather than hardware.
yeah, you can pretty much just run all of them, man. Like anything that's relating to the Switch too.
Okay.
Um, how about we focus on? Let's see.
It'd be probably
Yeah,
wise to focus on Mario Kart World, considering that's the thing that they're pushing for 90.
totally. We'll do the pricing one, and we'll probably throw Hades 2 into the pricing discussion. That
Yep.
sound decent?
Yep.
Instead of doing
Just
three
throw it in
separate
there.
videos.
Yep.
Cool.
All right. You ready to count in?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Let's go.
So we're still talking $80 video games or your local equivalent. Recently, Doug Bowser, president of Nintendo of America, he did an interview where he stated that not all of their games would cost $80, and Mario Kart World is going to be a special instance of the top of the line. That's top of the line quality for Nintendo, and games that I guess are top of the line quality. Maybe we can expect those to be $80. So I just kind of wanted to get you on the record, Loon, because we haven't really talked about, the pricing of games with the reveal of the first ever standard edition of a video game hitting $80 with Mario Kart World. I talked about it in a video where I kind of, more so my whole thing was talking about Grand Theft Auto 6 and my thought process behind the likelihood of that jumping up to 100 based on Mario Kart World being 80. But I kind of want to get you on the record and just hear your thoughts on um the first ever, you know, new price point for a standard edition video game. I shouldn't say first ever, but the first ever since like the N64 days.
Yeah, it's a joke. It's an absolute joke in my opinion. I can understand where some people are coming from. You know, it's a big step for Nintendo because this does look like a big project for them. The thing that always annoys me is that it's always one exception for another. Because what I'm gonna say here, people are probably they'll either agree or you'll disagree. It just looks like an arcadey version of Forza Horizon. Is that new Mario Kart? But they didn't then turn around and go, "Oh, we're making an open world Forza Horizon game. We're going to bump that up like that." Why are Nintendo doing that? What? Because they've caught up with the rest of the industry? No, I'm being like deadly
Yeah.
serious. Like you're catching up because I know they play many years behind everyone else. So they're looking at like, oh wow, we have to put in this much effort to make a game. Yeah, that $80, please. And it's like a 90 for the physical, right?
No. So it's gonna be the same price digitally and physically. I don't really know where that came from because I
Okay.
remember when we were recording,
Yeah.
that information popped up and then it was just like not true, or at least
Okay.
not true in the US. I maybe it's true elsewhere. I really don't know.
Okay. I think it was leaked by one of the storefronts that branded it as that, so people ran with
Hmm.
it, but it could have just been a typo.
Makes sense.
Um, but even then, like $80 for that, like I just no, I don't see that as being a win for gamers because it was at the beginning of or towards the end, right, of the generation where they bumped it up 60 to 70 for everybody.
Yeah.
It was a
NBA
fairly recent
2K21.
thing, and then you're talking they're going to bump it up again, and because this is the thing, they're bumping that up. Like the perfect example is now Rockstar look over and like, well, we make a product 10 times more expensive than that, so we're going to
Yeah.
move the needle 10. And then everyone else will look around and go, oh well, this is our most ambitious product, so we'll move the needle. Like, when does it end?
Right.
A game's going to just keep like ballooning to try and
Well,
meet with ballooning budgets, like because that's not sustainable. Like that's not a thing that anybody should be championing.
exactly. I agree. And you got to think it was like 2005, I believe, whenever games went from 50 to 60. So now we're talking about 2020 when games went from 60 to 70. I was pretty much okay with that. It's like, that seems reasonable. That's a long time. Sure, I don't think most games are worth 70 fucking dollars if I'm being honest, but it is what it is. That's a long enough time for that $60 price to remain the price. And then now we have a new price, which is 70. But going from 70 in 2020 to 80 in 2025, so we had to wait. We waited 15 years to go from 60 to 70. Now in 5 years, 70, 80. Like that's
And then it will be less than a
crazy.
year from 80 to 90 for GTA if they apply the pressure. And this, and yeah, it's
Yeah,
like when does it end?
I agree.
And what I will say is when did it should end now. Like people should be universally saying no. And what I saw today, and I don't know whether or not it's like 100% accurate, but they kind of gave the same response that Xbox One gave when they were
Yep.
being flamed for the stuff and being like, "Well, we got the Switch One for you guys," and it's like, and I'm sitting here like remembering how big Xbox got clowned for saying that phrase. Because it is, and I fully agreed with the people at the time. It's stupid. That is one of the most stupid mentalities ever. You have a brand new product and you're turning around and go, well, if you don't like how much we're squeezing you for, stay with the current product that you have.
Yep.
That's just hubris.
Yep.
That is unbelievable levels of arrogance. Um, and I saw people defending it. It's just like, no, come on, man.
Yeah. And so I really wanted to hit you today because I've just been thinking about this a lot and kind of thinking about my own hypocrisy in a way where I'm bitching about Mario Kart World being $80. And I was like, yeah, Mario Kart World is not even close to worth $80 for me. But that doesn't mean all games aren't worth $80 to me. And so, listen, here's the thing. Before we, yeah, let's actually, before we even get there, I do want to say out the fucking gate that your video game, your movie, your book, your television show is irrelevant. Like, totally fucking irrelevant. Normal people are struggling so damn much just to get by. Like, if you think that, here's the thing, this is supposed to be an escapist hobby,
Hmm.
a piece of entertainment that we consume that takes us away from the worries of the world for just a moment of time. And if you think that upping the price of your games is in any way, shape, or form intelligent in the year 2025, whenever all of our other rents going up, food prices are going up, everything else is going up that we have to survive. Your shit is irrelevant. Your entertainment product is totally, utterly irrelevant in the grand scheme of just getting by in life. And it will be the, mark my fucking words, it will be the first thing cut. You and I are the biggest damn gamers you can get. It will be if I get to a point where I can't pay my damn mortgage payment or can't pay my whatever payment, the first thing that's getting cut is entertainment products
Yeah.
like
It's what I had to
subscription
do earlier
services,
this year. It
games.
was one of the big reasons why I skipped KCD too. It's things get at certain times in life, things get a little bit expensive. If one thing goes wrong and you have to throw money at it, you don't, and that's the thing. So I'm privileged to be in the spot that I am, where I am able to get as many titles as I am. But there's so many people that are genuinely struggling. I have friends who rarely buy titles anymore. Their lifeline is Game Pass.
Yeah.
I know people love to clown people, pointing fingers and, always putting people down, because everyone comes from different walks of life and it makes people feel good being like, oh, well, you're poor and stuff like that. Oh, you broke. It's like, look, man, they're just trying to enjoy the same hobby you are.
Exactly.
So, like, don't tear them down for that. And, like, why are you, it comes back full circle. Why are you parroting and trumpeting a price increase? How is that ever good
Right.
for you? What you envisioning, even in like the purest term, that money is not going to go back to making that product better. That's just going to line the pockets of the company, because they
Yeah.
already are able to make the product at that budget.
Right.
So getting an extra 10 off of it is just, yeah, it's just the
And
thing of the modern day chasing growth. That is it, chasing growth.
it's not to say like there's not I'm never going to look at someone who goes out and buys Mario Kart World as lesser than or like as stupid or you shouldn't do that or do whatever the fuck you want to do with your money.
Yep.
That is not my prerogative whatsoever. But with what you just said is that you'll have people out there that are like trying to say, uh, almost trying to be on the company side where it's like, bro, let's all be on each other's side. Let's try. And you can do whatever the fuck you want, say whatever you want. I don't care. But from my perspective, it's like the they are not my friends. I don't care if they make more money. I care about what we get as consumers, and I want to be given a fair price for the product that I'm receiving. And I I can look at shit rationally where I say, okay, well, 2005 is when we got the $60 price increase. We waited until 2020 to go from 60 to 70. That seems reasonable to me. But even then, Loon, what fucking video game have you played recently where you're like, yeah, that's a $70 banger worth my value? Like we talked about it a second ago, but I don't necessarily feel all that bad whenever a Callisto Protocol is launching at $70 and not doing well. I don't necessarily feel all that bad when Immortals of Avium is launching at $70 and not doing all that well. I don't remember if that launched at 70, but you know what I'm saying? Like you
No, I
got
think that
to
was a
be
70 launch. Well, the thing is like you used to be able to when it was 60 and stuff, and there wasn't a talk of a price increase, and it didn't feel like you were being nickel and dime because it was just a thing of just I can't remember a time when they were 50. It was always 60 for me in the hobby and stuff. And that just felt like okay, 60 is what you get for a complete full budget experience. And 9 times out of 10 when you did purchase that, that's the way it did feel when you were purchasing that. When you're purchasing GTA 5 on 360 and stuff for full price, it was like, yeah, that feels like a full product. Purchasing The Witcher 2 and stuff like that, Skyrim and stuff. Like you were getting a full product worth your money. And it doesn't feel like that has risen at the same rate. It feels like the prices are going up, but you're getting less effort in many regards of stuff. There's less ambition. Like yeah, like I said, I don't think for me personally, I'm never gonna trumpet a price increase because it doesn't need
yeah,
to happen.
totally. Yeah. But I will say, and I will reiterate what I said, is like I do understand if you're a huge Mario Kart fan, like you want to
Yeah,
play
no,
fucking Mario Kart.
yeah,
There's nothing I've bought $100 editions
yeah.
of games and shit.
So
Like
have I.
I
I understand.
yeah,
That's what I mean. You look behind us. We both have things. There are things. There are titles where they will.
but I'm not praising it.
I'm not praising it. No, exactly.
Yeah.
It annoys me that I had to get that the where is it? Baldur's Gate 3. That's the only way to get the physical one for
Right,
Xbox.
exactly. Same.
That I love Larian. They're incredible. They're amazing developers. The game is amazing. The game is worth 70, but you didn't charge me 70. You charged me like 100 for the physical to be shipped here. And I'm not happy with the price, but I happily paid it. There's a
Yep.
difference.
Yep.
I'm not happy that I'm having to pay a premium on that, but I'm happy to get the product. It's that
Yeah.
weird thing of, and it's with, like you said, there will be people out there that will just go out and buy the Mario Kart thing, and I don't blame them. They're fans.
No.
To them, this is golden. Seeing a Mario Kart be set in a Forza Horizon game, that is
Yeah.
amazing. But to everybody else, it's the thing of where, unfortunately, those that are going to go out and buy it will feel that and therefore give them the excuse to do that. But it's the same with people who pre-order games and stuff like that. There's always a certain angle that you can look at where it's like you are making the industry worse, but it's an industry that's fed off of your love for it.
Yeah.
Unlike
Exactly.
films and stuff. Like because I'm not a film buff, so maybe they also fall into that where they have to go to the cinema. But it's like me with like I really love Predator and Aliens as a franchise. I don't ever go out and watch the movies. Like day
Right.
one, I wait for the physical to be printed. I wait for it to drop in price because I'm not going to pay like 25 to go watch
Yeah.
a Blu-ray. Like I'm in no rush. So
Right.
yeah,
And that's the thing is like that tying back to the hypocrisy, where there is going to be a level of hypocrisy in all of this because it's just what matters to you.
yep,
But it's like I don't understand the phrasing of like let's not root for prices to go up. Let's not root for the companies over ourselves. That's crazy.
no.
Um, so I want to play a game with you. Rapid fire run through these. I want to hear, because once again, back to us being hypocrites, I want to put on display how hypocritical are we possibly. I got a
Okay.
list of games I'm going to run down and I'm going to ask you, would you pay $80 for these games? And I'll answer as well. That way you're not the only hypocrite in the room. Um, the next Larian game, since we just talked about them, would you pay 80 for the next Larian game?
See, this is the thing though, because mine prefaces with, am I having to buy that directly off them to get like with the Baldur's Gate 3
Nope.
thing? Like it's just
Digital.
marketly available? Digital?
Digital.
No,
Yep.
absolutely not. No.
Okay.
You're out of
What
your
if it
fucking
fit
mind. Dude,
physical
I
and
sat on
digital?
my hands when Alan Wake 2 got launched. I was so ready to get that.
Same.
And I sat for a year and I was like, no, I'm gonna be stubborn. Screw you. I have
Say
morals, man.
physical and digital available, both are $80. Day one, you can buy either. Would you buy the physical for 80? Baldur's Gate 4, they come back for another one.
Begrudgingly so,
Yeah.
probably.
I probably wouldn't for I'm not the biggest, Larian guy, but I got some on here that you're going to be surprised with. Would you pay $80 for Mafia the Old Country?
No,
I think that's one I'd drop an 80 for. And that would
not for
sting
80.
because that's not a game that's worth $80 and I know that, but that's like such my shit that once again, just the hypocrisy. A new Metro game. Would you drop 80? I picked this one specifically for you.
Um, you're gonna probably be surprised in this. It would be one of the few titles where I would want a demo available
Oh,
because they've been getting bigger and bigger, and there are points in Exodus where it's a little bit shaky. I wouldn't be confident in giving them full price if the game is also going to get bigger and then it tanks in the performance. So I'd probably demo it and then if it runs fine, yeah, I'd give them 80.
right. It's funny you say that. For me, probably not. I still got a lot of catching up to do with Metro, but it's funny you even say that. The Witcher 4, that was the next one I had on there. I feel like that perfectly can tie in. CDPR does not know how to launch a damn game. So would that be another one you'd want to wait for a demo on, or is that like, fuck it, I don't care, I'm there?
For The Witcher, I think I'm there.
Yeah,
I
I
think if I
think
move
I'm.
my head, it could probably give away. Yep, there you go.
And
That ain't cheap.
I'm in the same boat as you, but I would like to at least see gameplay to know that it's not a cyberpunk situation. I don't think they'll ever do that again, but I need some evidence.
It's always going to run wobbly though. 'Cause this is, I think I've brought up before of like The Witcher 3 wasn't a good launch either, but people don't know that because they weren't there,
But there's a difference
ironically.
between not a good launch and totally broken.
No, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the thing of that. I give them the benefit of the doubt with Cyberpunk a little bit because it's a whole new thing. They'd never made a first person game before. They'd never done shooting before. Like, there's so many things they had to build from the ground up. I don't think they realized just how much of an undertaking that would be.
Yeah. A new BioShock game.
No.
I wouldn't
No,
either.
I'm not actually all that like I like BioShock. I'm not really all that bothered if I never play one again.
A new Resident Evil game. Let's say Resident Evil 9, the next mainline one. I so listen, here's the thing. I would buy this. It's my favorite franchise of all time, but that is not a franchise that's worth $80. Like, I'm sorry. They've never made a game that's worth 70.
Dang.
I love it's my favorite franchise ever. They have not made a $70 game. And if they jump to 80, that's crazy to me.
I don't know. It'd have to be a time and place thing. That'll be a maybe.
Dragon Age 5.
Yeah,
You would. That's going to be a no for me, but here we go. Mass Effect 5. That's an absolutely yes for me. Are you day
fortunately.
one? Yeah.
Again, it's it, but this is it ties back to, I'm not doing it like with a grin on my face, like happily
Right.
giving them like it's begrudgingly. It's just like you're twisting my arm.
Exactly. This is one I'm curious about. Well, I guess this is more so for me, but Intergalactic, Naughty Dog's new game. I guess obviously that's probably not going to be for you, but this is one where I would pay $80 for this, but I think that if this game launches at $80, that is suicide. It's a brand new IP that is already facing a real uphill battle in terms of
Yeah.
marketing. And like, I don't think it would be smart to launch that game at $80, even though in terms of budget, like that and Grand Theft Auto 6 are probably the only two games in development right now where you could say, yeah, they're probably worth $80 in terms of how much money is going into it, how much time is going into it, the quality, that we're probably going to get. But at the same time, like you are not going to be able to sell that for $80. Like I just do not think you're going to be able to shift millions of copies at $80.
I don't think it's going to be a good game.
You
I
don't think it's going to
think
be a good game?
I don't think until no. I don't think that they're gonna. I think it's gonna be a very wobbly thing. Um, I think they're gonna struggle
With what?
with just getting people in the door, with it being like an actual good experience.
Well,
I don't know. I
I
struggle
agree
to.
with your first point. I totally agree with. Getting
Yeah,
people in the door is going to be a hard thing. But I think it's going to be an excellent video. I don't think they've made anything less than like a 9.3 since
but we all
Uncharted 2.
stumble. This is
Yeah,
the thing. It's that thing of the Last of Us 2 is very divisive, very split down the middle. And when you take out that story, a lot of people are also getting very long-winded with how long their games are. So if
yeah, they
it's
got
if
to
it's
chop
tied
that.
to if it's tied to characters they don't care about and it's a long-winded story, I mean, it doesn't matter how fun the gameplay is. If
Yeah,
you're stretching that out to 25, 30 hours of that,
totally. Well, let's stick right there with Naughty Dog, The Last of Us 3. Once again, I'm a Naughty Dog shill. I'd definitely buy it for 80, but
I think I'm
I
done with the series.
I feel that.
um, I don't, they're just misery simulators. I don't
I
find them particularly enjoyable.
I think you are going to run into the same exact problem though, where people are like are just uninterested at this point. And I don't think people are uninterested in The Last of Us, but I don't think people are just going to be like, "Oh yeah, I'm ready to go." Like you said, they are kind of misery simulators.
I think, to be fair though, I think it's done them wonders making that TV show because they have a brand new player base of potentially new gamers who are none the wiser as to what pricing points are. So if you could
Totally.
fool an entire new player base into being like, here's 80 for The Last of Us Part 3, they'd probably be, oh yeah, cool.
Grand Theft Auto 6.
I don't think I'm buying it day one. I think I've said that before, right?
I don't know. That's the first I remember hearing that. That's wild.
I'm not like in a rush to play it. Um, I don't yearn for crime sandboxes like that. I've gone through my gaming wave kind of thing of like crime sandboxes and multiplayer and then ooh JRPGs and then ooh strategy RPGs and stuff like that. Like I don't know, I'm happy with because I've slowed down on trying out a ton of like different experiences. I've kind of just found my niche at the moment, going around in like JRPG land, strategy RPGs and stuff like that. I'm not really, I don't know. I'm happy.
Boy, I am yearning. I am yearning to drive a damn car in an open world, get out of the car, shoot someone, get into a helicopter, get into a like I am yearning for that experience back in my life so much. See, this is the one game where you could probably say just you could fucking throw a number out there and be like, I'll pay it. It is. I cannot fucking wait for this video game. Um, Borderlands 4,
No.
no chance.
No, I'll keep it friendly.
Were you gonna say you don't think you'd pay like 50, half that?
I didn't buy I actively went out of my way to buy Borderlands 3 secondhand because I didn't want to give him money. That's how much I despise him as a human being.
What about Assassin's Creed? I know that's a tough one for you. That's like an all-time classic series for you.
See, it's funny that you say because it is like it's a series I'd get day one. Something that doesn't get like Ubisoft doesn't get credit for is their physicals are cheaper than the digital, but no one knows it.
Really?
Did you not realize that? When I
Mine was
purchased,
70.
mine wasn't. Mine was 50. Shadows was
Really?
50. Yeah,
Where'd you get it?
Amazon. So
Damn.
was Outlaws. Outlaws was I got the Ultimate Edition, so all the DLC, and that was for base price day one. They've been
Wow.
doing that every. They did it with Valhalla. They did it with Mirage. Mirage was cheaper.
I'm gonna have to
They
start shopping on Amazon.
they I don't know if it is Amazon US as well, but Amazon UK is what like it makes me laugh when people play them. It's like, dude, got like the receipt to prove it if you want. Picked up Shadows for 50 day one. It was here on day of release, and I was playing it.
Would, would you pay 80 though?
For base, no, probably not.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
I,
no
the
chance.
thing that is heartwarming about that is I don't think they would charge that with the way that they
Really?
handle physicals.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't do 80 for Assassin's Creed either, but I just wanted to do like a little run through there, quick rapid fire run through of kind of just trying to expose our hypocrisy. At what level could we possibly expose our own hypocrisy? Because I do think that like people trying to rain on someone's parade of someone being excited for Mario Kart World, that's shitty as well. Where I don't like that either. So I just want to throw out there like, yeah, I'm a fucking hypocrite too.
Hmm.
Like it's not just because there's no world where I'll pay $80 for a Mario Kart game. There's a lot of other worlds where I'll pay $80 for a different game. So, hey man, if you're hyped for Mario Kart, be hyped for Mario Kart. And but let's stop rooting for the corporations. Those are the bad guys. Let's root for us. Let's root for consumer friendly prices. Um, but yeah, I just thought that'd be a fun little game to cap off the video with.
That was good.
Appreciate you guys for tuning in. I hope you all enjoyed the content. If you did, like, subscribe, all of that shit. I think that's about it. Share it with a buddy. We appreciate you. We'll see you soon. Goodbye.
See you later.
All right. That one was long. That's my I shouldn't have included that game. How long was that? Like 40 minutes?
27.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Damn. Okay,
You
that
gotta
wasn't bad at
remember
all.
we're on Lean Street.
Yeah. I was trying to rapid fire. I felt like I was going on forever. Cool.
We're
Cool,
being a hell of a
cool.
lot more efficient with our time.
Good, man. Um, let's see.
Although we did forget
Okay.
Hades too, but oh well.
We could talk about that as like a 10-minute thing.
Do you think you could squeeze 10 minutes out of Hades too? I don't really have much to squeeze out of it.
Um, think of what I could say.
I mean, I played the first one, it was okay. I think I'm trying to think of the word. I think it's overpraised, personally.
Yeah. Yeah, we can
But
skip
other than
Hades
that,
too.
yeah, I don't really have.
Um,
It is a little bit surprising that it's a Switch 2 exclusive. Because I thought it was a Game Pass title.
I don't think so. I think that's Hollow Knight.
Hmm. It was Hades 1. Might have launched into Game Pass. I don't know. I don't
Um,
know.
so now what do we have on the dock? We
Marvel's
got
Wolverine.
okay. Yeah, I got quite a bit to say about this.
Good, because we only got 53 seconds of a trailer. They've shown nothing on this game.
If you want, you can grab fuck it. Well, it
It's
doesn't
fine.
matter.
53 seconds. It can run and then it's just us. I can always replay it
Totally.
partway through the
That's fine.
video.
That is fine.
And this will be a short one, I assume, probably about 15 minutes.
Yeah,
Unless you have
maybe.
a ton to say on Wolverine.
I got a lot
And
of
this is
thoughts on
what he
this.
needs to be wearing, like he was in issue 63.
I'm not quite that nerdy with it, but I'm pretty damn nerdy with it.
Okay. All right, you want me to count you in?
Yeah, go ahead.
3, 2, 1, let's go.
Wolverine, my friend, I need you in my life. And it doesn't look like we're gonna be getting any big updates anytime soon for Wolverine. And that's because I'm looking over here at Insomniac's Twitter, Insomniac Games, their official Twitter account, where they posted, it was just like saying, hey, we got a new update coming for Marvel's Spider-Man 2 coming to PC, and then yada, yada, yada. And an account replied to him and said, nothing for PS5, no news about Wolverine, ignoring everyone, such a great team, which we'll get into that
Damn.
in a second. But um,
Major bait there.
so Insomniac replied back to him and said, we're actively working on Marvel's Wolverine for PS5. We'll share news about the game when we, and they emphasized we, are ready to share it. That will always be our answer. We can't act on everything requested when things take time, resources, and the green light to share them. All right. So I want to say out the gate, you know, the whole thing, no news about Wolverine, ignoring everyone, such a great team. Like, yeah, that is definitely some bait. You're throwing that out there hoping for a response, and you got a response. And uh, I also can understand Insomniac hitting back with some like,
Mm,
kind of chill the fuck out energy.
yep.
However, if you leave out the part where it says such a great team and all that, I do kind of agree with the sentiment. Wolverine was revealed in 2021. It's 2025, man. Like, I'm not saying that, as fans, we can just sit there and demand things to be shown when they're not ready to be shown. I get that. But it's like,
Yeah.
it's been a long fucking time. And I think that having a response in your Twitter feed or in your reply section where someone's like, hey, where's Wolverine? I think you should probably be expecting that.
Expecting it, yes, but I'm gonna kind of play the devil's advocate, as I always do. It's always
Yeah,
fun to argue the other side.
absolutely.
We're going at this with a mentality of like how games were announced previously, like 10 years ago, in the way that that was announced, and then the turnover rate was fairly quick. There were very few games that, when they would go into like 5, 6 years, 7 year development cycles, they were considered in development hell back then. That's becoming more normal development cycles and not in development hell now. So when did you say that got announced? 2020?
2021.
2021. So it's been 4 years. So back on the PS4 generation, yeah, that's like, dude, that's coming out now, right? It's in like the final few months, maybe the early of next year release window is what you would imagine if he was in like the shoes. We don't really see, look at like, you have Bethesda over there with the Elder Scrolls 6. They've gone 2 generations of consoles and it's still not here. Like, you have a bunch of other teams that are struggling to get them out efficiently. So I can understand the annoyance and stuff, but this is why I had, I can't remember what video it was that we did it. It's why I had the sentiment of announce it, release it within the year. Like, just keep things under wraps. Like, if they get leaked, they get leaked. You can't help that, but don't announce something 4 years ahead of time. Like, when you know it just doesn't make sense in this day and age, because you have this. You have every single day. There isn't downtime in gaming anyway. There's always going to be somebody that will pick apart a thread like that, because social media is so prevalent in the way that games and media is handled now. So every single time they're going to make a tweet, they're going to get 10 of them. And to the person who's having to deal with that on the Insomniac end, that's infuriating. That's so annoying to deal with that. But at the same time,
Totally.
it's the bed that you've made for yourself. You know that it wasn't ready. All you've shown is that trailer of him sitting at a bar and doing that.
Yeah.
That is it. That's all. So you're talking about fans and respecting their time and stuff like that. That's all you've given them in a 4 year window. Of course, they're going to be angry.
I do think that to your point from earlier about the marketing window being longer, I think we're getting to the point where they're shortening it up. Like, see Astrobot revealed and launched in the same year. You see Ghost of Tsushima or Ghost of Yotai revealed late last year, supposed to come out sometime this year.
Hmm.
Like they're shortening up those windows. I think that Wolverine was caught in that weird period
Yep.
where it was still like, God of War Ragnarok, uh, I think God of War Ragnarok was announced in 2019, 2020, and then launched in 2022. And then with Wolverine, it was like right before we got into the period of marketing windows shortening up a good bit. So I think that there is some damage done there. And also I think there is that perception damage done where it it's a game that kind of feels like it should be in line with your Ghost of Yotai, Spider-Man 2, games of that ilk that were announced and launched much quicker, because it was launched alongside them, or it was announced alongside them. So, and also, of course, the leaks are. I can't imagine that the leaks didn't set back development a great degree for that game. Like, I mean, a lot of that shit was leaked. And I'm not saying they're going in and changing and reiterating and tweaking everything, but I would imagine, even if it's on a subconscious level, that the morale was just tanked after that game got leaked. And I would imagine that some level of productivity probably took a hit when your morale is that low. So I can understand that, but I also do understand, like I don't understand, being an asshole, but
No,
I do understand being like, yo, what the fuck is going on?
just because
Man.
it's appearances that you have to upkeep. You know, you're talking about Sony's output, and it was absolutely stellar, and now it's starting to slip a little bit. Um, and like you said, it is in that transitionary period, but it's industry wide. It's the thing of me when I was sitting there and being like, when they first announced Perfect Dark or 007 and stuff, because Xbox does this much worse than PlayStation. I happily put my hands up and be like, what the hell are you doing? Like, why are you announcing these years and years? Like, Fable was announced years prior than it should have been and stuff like that. I know you want to create anticipation, but I think what they don't understand is that anticipation is very short-lived for most games. Not everybody feels the way they do about a Silk song, where that anticipation hasn't gone anywhere. That's burning so bright constantly. But it's a rarity. It's not like that for Fable. It wasn't like that for Hellblade 2 and stuff like that, really. There wasn't like people genuinely being like, I'm pumped to play this. It's just like, oh, it got delayed again. We're hearing it. Oh, it's not being released this year. It's just, and then people lose interest.
Well, and to your point, it's like I worry about that with Intergalactic, where that's a game that is a brand new IP. If we're being honest, probably got revealed too early
Hmm.
and is probably going to take quite a while to come out the door. And I think that there is a situation where it's a Hellblade 2 effect or whatever you want to call it, where there isn't that level of desire for it because we don't even with Hellblade 2 at least you kind of know what to expect, but with this we have no idea. And maybe once they show gameplay there will be that desire where it's like, oh damn, this looks fucking amazing, yada yada, yada. But it's a new IP, so it inherently doesn't have that level of attachment, that level of connection that a sequel or like a Hollow Knight Silk Song or that whatever example, a known IP. So I worry about that with that. But to your point, the output for PlayStation is just not great right now from a first party standpoint, where I think the only games that we know of that are in development for this current generation, and I don't even know if I'd say Intergalactic is a PS5 game. It might launch PS6, and then be cross-gen, but I don't know if that's necessarily a PS5 video game. Um, and like I could see it launching 2028 and also being available on PS5. But to the games that we know about is like Saros from Housemarque, and then obviously Wolverine, which I do think Wolverine will come out this gen. Yotai, which should come out this year, and then Horizon multiplayer, fair games. Like it's not a lot, and I'm sure there's some I'm leaving off, but it's just not a lot that spring to the top of your mind. So, um, yeah, they're in an interesting spot where they're living off of so much goodwill from the PlayStation 4, where that was just one of the greatest generations for any console manufacturer ever in terms of output, in terms of high quality exclusive content. And they do still have great exclusives. They're doing a great job on the third party front, but it is like, man, people are yearning for those first party heavy hitters, and it's just not coming at the rate that um that
We were
I think
used
a
to
lot of
in
people would like.
previous years. Yeah.
You know. So, with all of that said, man, is there anything you're wanting from a Wolverine game? I know you're not the biggest X-Men fan in the world, but is there anything where you're like, yo, you gotta have X, Y, and Z? For me, it's two really simple things. Give me gore and M rating, a ton of blood, dismemberment, and a motorcycle. And I'm good.
No, that's all it needs to be. It's the kind of thing of where I don't know why we still have this. umming and ahhing or cold feet in approaching superheroes and stuff like that with a more mature theme. Like the Dark Knight trilogy showed that it could be done, and then they kind of lifted their foot off the pedal with it and didn't like apply that to everything else. And it was like, oh, that's kind of weird. It's kind of strange. And then Deadpool came out, which they didn't even want to make. It was only because Ryan Reynolds leaked it himself and being like, dude, you don't understand like how much like you have a winning thing on your hand, you don't want to do it because it's got more mature thing. Like, what are you talking about? Ah, well, we don't know if it will fit. It might not sell well, and it shows it sold incredibly well. It did incredibly well, all three movies. And then you have all the stuff like DC seems to do it a lot better, Penguin and stuff like that, and taking more darker themes with Batman and stuff. But yeah, like Marvel, you think back to how much X-Men Origins Wolverine was heralded because it was that mature theme. And it's because they knew that the movie wasn't going to do well. So they basically were just like, just do whatever you want with the game. If the movie did well, they would have held that with an iron grip and probably PG'd it up to try and fit as many people into buying it as possible. And that's kind of my worry is that Insomniac, are they really, is that the same, do they have the same gusto that Raven have in making a Wolverine game on that kind of scale? Like both Spider-Man games aren't really mature, really, in any of the things. It's very, very light-hearted or family friendly,
Yeah.
if you're being completely honest with yourself. So it's like, is Sony willing to sign off on that? I don't know
Right. Is
because
is Marvel willing to sign off on
exactly.
it?
No, exactly. It's both of them. Are they both willing to take that risk? Because if they're looking at how popular the Spider-Man games are when selling like that while appealing to everybody, they're gonna probably be like, well, why limit that player base and take every kid out of the equation? Because that's how they look at it. It's black and white. If it has
Yeah.
an M rating, then no child can play this because no adult will give this to their child. And it's just like, oh God.
Yeah,
Okay.
dude. I think parents are more worried about making sure their kid doesn't scroll across a beheading video when they're on fucking
It's
Twitter or like I don't I we're
it took
we're
a took a turn, didn't it?
well, I'm just saying like we're at a point where like it is so damn you just get on Twitter and you're hit with porn and death and violence and like dude, how many kids across the world, you know, whatever what's M rating is, I guess 18 and older. So how many kids 17 and under have Twitters and social medias? Like, and I don't think I don't know. I think there's a level of desensitization.
Mhm.
Desensitization. Is that how you say that?
Desensitization.
Desensitization. Yeah, I think there's a level of desensitization where it I don't know that M-rated games are the thing that it used to be where parents are like up in arms about M-rated games anymore. Like how many kids play Call of Duty and GTA 5 online and I'm not
Well,
there's definitely parents who care, but I just don't
mhm.
think it's in the level of how it used to be. Like parents are
Well,
probably scared.
what was funny as well, it was mainly America that were kind of up in arms with it. The two countries I remember having like really like weird relationships with games was that where you had, was it Jack Thompson leading the charge
Oh
at trying to like
yeah.
burn down Rockstar and stuff and the Peaceholics
Yeah.
debacle. And then you had Michael Atkinson. His name was, he was the Attorney General, I believe, for Australia. And they had just some of the most bizarre, like, we're just not going to rate this. We're not going to rate Saints Row 3 or Saints Row 4 because it has drugs in it. And it's just like, dude, you have like much bigger problems on your plate than you need to be worrying about and being like, oh yeah, we're worried that kids are gonna recreate these things in the game. What, running up a building? Like, are you kidding me? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It's
it's bizarre.
you know what I really want, Loon? Because I was thinking about this a lot. You know, you brought up Spider-Man and the comparisons there that are, obvious because you would think that's probably the template that Insomniac's going to look at for this Wolverine game. But I was thinking, like, I would much rather this be linear. in kind of like a Tomb Raider Legend style approach,
Yeah.
where you got these cool ass action set pieces and the old school James Bond games, everything or nothing on the PS2, where like you get to see such cool shit because you're not in one world. You can kind of go wherever, or you can not literally go wherever in an open world sense, but like they can set the game wherever in
Well,
so many different places.
well, yeah, especially when you think of the X-Men as well. I know it's not X-Men, it is just Wolverine, but like even because I went back and obviously watched that first film, they have that aircraft thing where it transports them here, there, and everywhere. It's not Spider-Man is New York.
Yeah,
That's mainly where his thing. He is the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. So he's very rarely going out anywhere. Wolverine shouldn't be nailed to the fucking floor into one city. Where are you gonna keep him? Like, just have it like you said, linear. Have it be like, okay, here's this tiny semi-open world map segment thing, and then bring it in linear for a few chapters, and then open it up a little bit. Like, how is this still just a thing that just gets shut? It's either all. It's again, it's all or nothing. Why does it have to be full open world or be branded as ooh, it's linear?
right.
Like, come on, man. Like Gears did this so well. Gears 5, it gave you an open world
Yeah,
map bit and then drew you back into the tight linear shooting. It's the best of both worlds.
such a good point. You bring up X-Men, which kind of just bummed me out to a whole different level. Like, damn, I didn't even think about that until you just started. Oh God, because they got the exclusive license for X-Men video games. Did you know that? Insomniac is the only developer that can make X-Men games at all. Like, not just
Okay.
Wolverine, anything X-Men related. So, oh dude.
Marvel Avengers
So,
2.0 coming right up. Can you imagine?
bro, but what I'm
Uh,
thinking is now that Wolverine has been pushed back, that means their next X-Men game that was supposed to hit in 2030. What are we looking at? Like 2034 for that next X-Men game? And I know they got multiple development teams, but damn, dude, why did they have to lock down X-Men in its entirety and not just Wolverine? Like that's the thing that bums me out. I don't really even care about the Wolverine game as much as I want a
I
real
can see it.
X-Men game.
I can understand it from a business standpoint. You don't want people because if it was an X-Men game, they would then obviously be using Wolverine as a thing. So you
Yeah.
don't want that buzz being taken out. It's kind of like why Sony got very petty when it came to Marvel Avengers and be like, yeah, you can't use Spider-Man on Xbox and everywhere else because they want to be the only place you can play Spider-Man is here. And it's just like, okay, sure thing, buddy. So that's what I envision as to why they tied down the entire X-Men license. They don't want any other competing Wolverine game title, anything that could steal its smoke.
Yeah, that makes sense, I guess. But yeah, it is a bummer that fucking X-Men fans on PC, Xbox, Switch 2, whatever. It's like, damn, man, that's another one that'll be locked down exclusive. It'll come to PC eventually, but it's like, fucking shit. You already got Spider-Man, and now you're gonna have Wolverine and the entire X-Men lineup that's exclusive to PlayStation, which I know different people have different opinions about exclusives. I do understand exclusivity. Like you gotta have it if you want to sell your console and then get people to buy Fortnite skins and fucking all of that shit in your ecosystem. I totally get it. But it is a bummer just as once again on a consumer level. We can understand something from a business level and still say it's a bummer from a consumer level.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, that's pretty much it. How are you feeling? I know this is a tangent, but how are you feeling about that Doomsday, Avengers Doomsday, that they're rumoring like the X-Men is going to be introduced into that next Avengers movie, and it's going to kind of be the on-ramp for X-Men introduced into the MCU in a big way, where it's going to be like, you don't care?
Still, I don't care. It's they've been really wobbly with a lot of the films since Endgame. It's
Yeah.
that kind of thing where you rushed to that conclusion. You could have probably drawn that out over like another 8 years, if we're being completely honest. Because it was a weird thing where every single movie had continuity tied to that. So for you rushing to get that all done, you've kind of written yourself into a corner where everybody that they've tried to replace can't remember what the guy's name was. Kang, was it? Kang the
See, that's the thing. I've been totally out since
no,
Endgame.
that like that's what I can't even like name it. Whatever it was, the whatever the guy's name was, and he's just fallen through. No one cares, so they're trying to do like, all right, we'll bring Robert Downey Jr. back because he has like he was the one who saved the live action movies to begin with, and we'll cast him as Doctor Doom. And it's just like this is it screams of desperation, and that's kind of why it bums me out with like if that is true that they're going to be bringing X-Men in with that because it's like you're tying it to a project which feels like they should have had their own. They shouldn't need to be tagged along with anybody else. They shouldn't
Right.
have to be sweetened up in a lifeline deal, if that makes sense. Like they should have just been announced. Like, how are you giving the Fantastic Four their own like thing and
Right.
not them? Like that's criminal. Like I'm
Yeah.
sorry, like that's actually criminal.
I am in kind of a weird spot though where I'm almost ready to get back into Marvel, where I've been totally out since Endgame. And so I have whatever 6 years of no Marvel where I'm like, damn, I could really go for if y'all could create something interesting, something compelling to hook me in.
Oh,
I'm
did you not
down for
watch
like
the Tom Holland movies?
I've watched one or two of them. I didn't watch the last one.
Mm.
Um,
Because that's basically
I
I did that and Loki, and then was just like everything else that I began watching, just turned it off within like the first 20 minutes. It was just like, ugh.
I watched was it Shang-Chi? I see, I don't even know. I watched it with someone, but like I haven't sat down to actively engage in a Marvel piece of content
You had
unless
a
I was
phone
like,
in your hand that whole time.
yeah, it's yeah, I could not for the longest time I could not have had any less interest, but now I'm kind of like, let's
No,
get
it's the thing
some
of like what we was talking about. You can't like tear someone down if they're excited for like Mario Kart. It's the same with like being excited that X-Men are back. Like for me, it doesn't really do anything,
yeah,
but for somebody like you, where you know the X-Men is a preferred group from that IP that you do want
yeah.
to see come back in a big way. Yeah,
Absolutely. So hopefully something good happens there, and hopefully we can get a damn video game. That's what we're yearning for. It's been since X-Men Destiny, since we have gotten a freaking X-Men video game. Like that is nuts, dude. 2011. It is 2025, 14 years since we've gotten a proper X-Men video game. You've got, that's why I played Midnight Suns, was to play with the damn X-Men characters. It's the only way I could engage with any X-Men character in a video game, other than like, some mobile bullshit, but a real video game. So,
well, we heard it
come
here
on, man.
first, folks. Mobile gamers aren't real gamers.
I'm tired. I'm tired, man. Come on, we need some X-Men video game content. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. This is Game N Ramble. Share it with a buddy if you like it, subscribe it, do the things that you're so
Hit all
that
the buttons,
hit the
just all of
buttons,
them at
please.
once
Don't break it, but try your best to 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 to
to drop your
hit
support.
hit the hit the buttons. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you soon. Goodbye.
See you later.
All right. So
He's
now
flaking, guys. He's flaking.
I'm starting to lose a little steam. We're hitting that where that 3 hour marks usually are our losing steam mark.
Well,
Um,
good news for you. You get to backseat the next two videos because it's Shadows and Vagrus, right?
Wonderful,
So you
absolutely.
can just sit there and go to sleep while I talk to you about a pen and
Ah,
paper adventure for the ages.
well, dude, I got let's hit. You want to do shadows first, or do you want to do?
I mean, I don't mind. I'll do both. Doesn't matter which one I do first.
How about we do shadows first, since it's like a proper review.
Okay.
Put and then we'll do Vagrus. And I got some questions jotted down for both.
All right. Let me go quickly grab a bottle just over there. It'll literally be
Yeah,
like 3 seconds.
I'm gonna grab a bottle of water as well.
I will quickly pause the Zoom then so they don't suffer.
Oh well, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. We'll pause it.
Yep.
All right.
See you in a minute, guys. We are back here.
Cool. Cool, cool. Yeah, I forget sometimes that we're even recording on the because yeah, this is new. I gotta remember that we're recording at all times.
Was will leak where we bury our treasure. Alrighty.
Oh man.
So you have been talking a lot, so it's now my turn to take that reign.
Yes, sir.
So I'll count you in. You can do the little intro bit,
All
and
right.
I'll take it away. All right, 3, 2, 1, let's go.
It is time. It is time. Come one, come all to ramble and review Assassin's Creed Shadows. Loon, you are in the driver's seat today, my friend, as you have played and finished Assassin's Creed Shadows, correct?
Finished it twice, technically, which is what I'll get into. Yeah, it was. What was it? Last month's video where we were ranking it. We'd both
Yep.
began playing it, and then you dipped out pretty quick within the 10-15 hour mark, correct?
About 20 hours, yeah.
20 hours. So, yeah, I was still taking it fairly slow, as I always do. And then I kind of sped up towards the end because what I was noticing is that it's a series I'm covering on my channel with a Let's Play. So that final video's gone out. Well, been recorded, it will go out. And I wanted to get that all done before drawing a blank on the Expedition 33. I didn't want to be playing these two games together um, because Shadows kind of has me zoned in and I'm doing everything. So I kind of wanted to give all the attention to Expedition when it came out. So I kind of pushed through it. Ended up running about, I can have a look, but I believe it was about the 65, 70 hour mark.
That was one of my main questions, was how long it took.
I believe that's roughly, but the thing is that it's obviously like many things with modern gaming, sometimes the Xbox, PlayStation, Steam tracker isn't matched in with the 64 hours. Um, right. Where do we begin? So the opening is one of the slowest openings in any Assassin's Creed game. They take that at a snail's pace. And what's kind of weird is that I don't know if you're going to agree with me on this because I don't know if you broke through that point. Did you get the ability to switch between the two characters?
Yep.
Okay, so you did reach that at least. So what this game suffers from in the very beginning is the same feelings I had, even though I loved it, and I love both of these games as well, I should add. It suffers from the same thing of my critiques with God of War 2018, where it's a game that starts like 5 times, if that makes sense.
Yep, it
So
does.
you begin with, is it Naue at the beginning or Yasuke? It's one of the
Y-
two. But you
Yeah, you
basically you have one set character. You can't choose from the beginning. You're stuck with one. You go through it, and then so this is all on rails. There's no bouncing into the open world yet. And then it flips it on to the other character, and then you do their section, and then it feels like okay, you've done one of each, so therefore it's going to be opened up now. But it's not. You're still fairly on rails. It's kind of a smoke and mirrors effect where you can't really go anywhere because your gear's so bad. You can't do anything because you can't assassinate anybody because you don't know anybody and stuff. You're very on the rails, and it's kind of like a stop and start thing, and it's very very jarring. And I didn't enjoy that aspect, and I can see why when you're talking about you being 20 hours in, I'm not surprised it drove you away because the opening like 10 hours of this game is a chore.
yeah. I one thing I was really curious about is so the story was the thing that made me kind of put it down, where I was like, I'm looking for something here that I'm just not getting. And maybe that's my fault for even looking for it, but I was just surprised in the presentation drop. And I just didn't think the writing was that good. So does the story get better the further you go, or is it like kind of the same level of quality throughout? Because I thought the opening was actually really strong,
Yeah,
story
no,
wise.
the narrative wise, like the pacing was bad from what you would expect from an Assassin's Creed game. Um, but the actual narrative beats were pretty well done. Like they looked good. They were good narrative set pieces. Um, so what I'll say for that is you're looking at for every 5 hours of content, maybe 15 minutes of decent. It varies from decent to very, very good narrative, and that's just not enough. That really is not enough. That when you're talking about you're coming from a series where people like to prop Assassin's Creed 2 and 4 up on pedestals and everything, and it's like, yeah, narratively paced they were very good, but they also had flaws themselves with the crappy tailing missions and things that people just give free passes now because it's when you think of things nostalgically, them types of things disappear into the ether
Yeah.
because you're only thinking of them amazing story beats with Edward Kenway or the interactions with Ezio and Leonardo and stuff like that. You don't think of all that crap that you had to do in between. Assassin's Creed games have always been a very difficult game to swallow as a whole thing. But what I will say is, as a complete package, so everything bundled into one bucket, Shadows is the most enjoyable game that they've made. It's just a mess when you single out pinpoint things. So the story is a mess. You get it stalls a few times, it feels like narratively. You're kind of doing stuff and then it kind of slams on the brakes. Um, I really don't like go anywhere, do anything as a
Same.
thing because it doesn't make sense structurally. Because what ended up happening is I was like, okay, I'm playing through it in a series on videos. I was only doing quests that tagged it as Naoe's quest, Yasuke's quest, which then pushed you into the Shin Bakufu targets, I think they were called. The main targets. Eliminated all of them, and then the credits rolled when that was done. And it was like I finished I finished the game, excuse like both characters' stories are unresolved, I would add, by
Yeah.
this point. The most progression to the story being done was Yasuke, but he still it was just he ended characters that were crucial to him, but his story wasn't finished. And now his was just beginning because you haven't forced me to do these other things like you would in a normal story. It would be like playing through The Last of Us and then getting the conclusion in The Last of Us 1 with the hospital scene
Oh,
and
that
then
was
being like,
good.
okay, now go back to Tess or whatever her name was. And it's like,
Yeah. She's
what is
dead.
going on? This is insane. This is insanely written. And it's just the thing of this is why I don't like the way that their modern games are designed when you're giving them like segmented to other teams. This is my biggest problem. It doesn't matter. I don't care about the size. I don't care about it being RPGified, zoned, and stuff like that. It's the fact that you're breaking the narrative up and giving it to other people. So they then tell their little contained story. Because what I was noticing as well was I was restricting myself to an hour of gameplay per
Mm.
episode. And it was kind of like, oh, this is kind of like fitting pretty well. Like I'm concluding stuff within that hour, and it's because they're probably told you have an hour. Like trim this, trim that, trim this, make that quest into an hour. Is what I ended up like feeling, and it was just like, I know this just really doesn't feel natural. And
Does
so good.
does does it ever feel like your choices really matter? Because like that's the thing that I wonder about. Because I think, yeah, that's what I assume. Because it's so hard for me to imagine with such a non-linear path that they're laying out. Because
That's
that's that's the beauty of choices, right? Is that like you can choose one thing, and as long as it's like structured in a linear mindset where it's like if you choose X, you get X. If you choose Y, you get Y, but you still have to go down X or Y to get there. Wherever it's when it's wide open, it's like go assassinate this person, however order you want. Like it doesn't seem like there's a lot of room for choice there that matters at least.
For the first time in the series, you're able to spare people and have them count as targets dealt with. You're able to make that choice, and that doesn't matter because
Yeah.
it goes from just being a red cross to a yellow circle
Yellow,
on a
yeah.
map. That is it. They don't show up later. You don't interact with them later. None of the further the the plot points down the line. This is the thing of like why The Witcher 3 was heralded back then. Because this game really takes inspiration from it early. All the previous games, Odyssey, Origins, and stuff, it was mimicking The Witcher 3 in many ways, but it never mimicked the thing of you come across Kira Metz in The Witcher 3, you do her quest line, and then when the big penultimate battle comes at your own thing, everybody that's an important ally steps in and helps you. There's never that. And that's the difference between choice because characters can live and die in The Witcher 3, and then that will mean they're not there for that moment. Therefore, different things happen. There's nothing like that. There never has been anything like that in an Assassin's Creed game, and there probably never will be because I don't think you can. When you're dissecting this and giving it to so many people, you can't have them turn around and go, "Oh, the character can make a choice with my two characters," and then convey that to the other creator that it needs. It just doesn't, and this is like why they're running into these things. But the biggest thing that blew my mind is that nothing happens.
Oh,
So this is the thing. Like I spoiler tag, I guess, if that's okay. But
yeah.
that's the spoiler of nothing happens. You're building this story and nothing happens. And what I learned and discovered is that when we were talking earlier, I was flicking through YouTube and Luke Stevens had posted a video yesterday. Shout out to Luke Stevens, always doing God's work out there. It's data miners have mined the content in Shadows, and that DLC that they're charging money for is apparently the ending of the game that they've broken off. And it's just
Jesus
like, huh, well,
Christ.
that makes sense because you basically hurried me along. You gave me the credits of the game, and this isn't exaggeration. You gave me the credits of the game 20 hours before I was finished with it narratively.
Jesus, man.
So it is narratively a mess, but I still love it. And it's that weird thing of like it's I understand that's like pure negative things, but it's the thing of how I was describing it to a friend is I play so many games that require so much brain power. This is just my comfort food. I
That
don't come
makes sense.
into an Assassin's Creed game critically. I don't come in and view it that way because it's
You know
probably
what you're
like
gonna get.
in hindsight, yeah, in hindsight, it's probably how I should accept people who view Bethesda games. They know what they're gonna get at the end of and they're just happy and they're content with it.
Yeah.
And it's that thing of they've made enough of the only way they're going to change it is if they change the style again. That's the only way that things are going to change. Otherwise, it's just going to be minor improvement here, 10 steps back here. Because that's how it
Yeah.
always has been. Because you're talking about shadows having all these different things that you're able to utilize, but then you can't scale everything. It's an Assassin's Creed game, man. I'm sliding
Right.
on my arse up mountains more than I'm climbing them. Like that's genuinely baffling. And then on top of that, what I'll also dig the knife in and twist it with, Yasuke can't even get to most of the viewpoints, and he's a main
Right.
fucking character. That's a joke. That is a genuine joke. You
I,
can't sync checkpoints with one of the main like no.
I just, I mean, I don't, I want to get to some gameplay because I think that's where a lot of the positives are going to come from. But I just think they should have been two different games, man. Like I would have been cool to have two feudal Japan, a game designed around Yasuke, a game designed around Naoe, and they have their own specific missions and like, but that's something that I want that it seems the majority does not want. The majority does not want this scaled back in any way, shape, or form. These things sell like hotcakes, so it's like I guess you got to listen to the numbers at the end of the day, unfortunately.
It's because it's probably in many ways of how I view it of comfort food kind of thing. Because I can see where you're coming from with the Yasuke thing. What I wouldn't have wanted them to be two separate games. I would have you just preferred if you made him a DLC, a standalone little 10, 15 hour thing, like what they did with the Jack the Ripper DLC in Syndicate or the Legacy of the First Blade, where they even broke that up episodically in Odyssey. That you had the Ragnarok campaign, and so they're capable of doing this. They just chose not to, and that's kind of why I'm like looking left and right because I'm kind of worried. The only piece of DLC that you've got, that you've made us aware of, is technically the ending of the game. Like that's a joke. Um,
Well,
so
to to transition to gameplay for a second, because like I do think that that's probably, I would assume, where you're gonna find some of your positives from with Shadows. I'm not trying to like, you
yeah,
know,
no, it has positives, but it also has negative. And this is the thing of being a Ubisoft fan. That's kind of the thing of for every positive, there is a negative. The combat is probably the strongest aspect of the game. It's a ton
I
of
would agree.
fun. It's really enjoyable, and it's jarring in the beginning having to switch sometimes forcefully between Yasuke and Naoe. But as the game goes on, it is a nice change of pace when you've been doing like a Naoe quest line for like 5 hours, and then it's just like, no, I don't want to sit here and like systematically eliminate these one by one. Sometimes I just want to kick the front door down and go in blazing and stuff like that with Yasuke. The thing I have a problem with the combat is it feels really good. The animations are fairly well done. Um, I don't know what possessed them to nerf the abilities though.
Dude,
I can't remember if I commented on this yet, but you had in Valhalla that was a big massive driving point to the fact where you could actually it didn't matter about your gear level falling behind because the ability tree and the abilities tied to weapons and stuff were able to carry you because they were just so powerful. In this, you have Yasuke deploying an ability, and if his weapon is 5 levels below the enemy, he just hits like a wet noodle.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know if
It's
you ran into that, and that was maybe a further driving force as to why you dips out because many people feel the same way. Around the level 20 mark, the story quests outpace you level wise. You've not earned enough gear and resources, so you're kind of forced into doing camp clears, which is
that
the
was
worst thing to do.
that was exactly where I noped out. Where
Hmm.
I was going through doing the story and then I was under leveled and it was like, I don't know, do I just drop this thing to the lowest difficulty just to power through it? And it's like that's kind of fucking boring. I don't really want to do that. And so and then I ended up talking to myself. I'm like, do I really want to play this at all? And I was kind of like, not really. And then but once again, I try to understand that I don't like that style of game though, and I never
Hmm.
really have. I just want to play like if I'm in an open world game, I don't really like the scaling of enemy interaction at all. I just want an enemy to be an enemy. And if you have an enemy who's a bad motherfucker, I want to be able to beat that enemy at the, start of the game and he's going to be incredibly difficult and at the end of the game he's going to be incredibly difficult. But I do understand that there's specific types of gamers who like specific types of things and this is a specific type of mold that they have leaned into and is sold really damn well for them. But I do with the ability thing specifically, I didn't like how you had to get the abilities where or how you had to get the points
You have
where it
to
was
get knowledge, so you have to do them and not like for me, I didn't mind it personally, but I'm gonna empathize with those that it would affect because it is the majority of people where they don't want to sit there and pray at a shrine. To
Right.
me, it was nice to be like, oh, you're going to these real locations. Okay, cool. And like being able to see that geographically squished down because it's how like when you was going through Valhalla and being like, oh, that's London. You can kind of see that, yeah, that kind of looks like London. You've compressed it down into the size of a Lego set. It's
Right.
London nonetheless. You see like the iconic uh, landmarks and stuff like that. That some of them are still standing, and it's like okay, cool. So seeing some of these shrines that still exist, and it's like oh, it's kind of cool. You get a few story nugget things where they're hinting at stuff, but it doesn't seem to go anywhere. So I don't know if that's DLC related, which
Can
kind of were
I
keeping me going.
can I ask, staying with gameplay, is there anything that happens later in the game, like where there's a badass new mechanic or just something that's like, oh, dude, this kind of changes the way I'm playing the game? Because that was another thing where I was just like, am I going to be playing this exact same way for another 20 hours? That was my worry. And so if there is something in there that you're like, dude, there's a new fun ass mechanic that, or ability that you get,
Not to that, I
nothing.
can't not that aggressively. No,
Damn.
it does come down to you, the player, having to make them moments. I will say that. Like, this isn't a game where, not to dig like Naughty Dog out, the way they set up their set pieces makes everybody feel badass because they're very, very deliberately, place these enemies here, 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 and here. So it makes you feel, oh, I'm awesome. I'm swinging through and I take him out and then I roll and it's just choreographed that way so that the majority of players are able to pull that off. With Shadows, they just don't. It's the kind of thing. It's where like we'll keep it simple, but if you want to go and make it more complex, by all means. The thing that was kind of driving me a bit insane though is the consistency of when I'm trying to make it more interesting, the game just bugs out. Like
Ooh,
the
I
amount
didn't
of
know
times that
that.
I assassinated people, plunged it, health bar disappeared, and then they just get back up, and I was just like, "Are you kidding me?"
Oh
I
my
had somebody
God.
who had been beheaded that stood back up with no head, and then I had to do that again. I was like, Jesus Christ, guys, this is actually embarrassing. The I don't remember what episode it was. It was no, it would have been just before credits rolled. On the final target of the game, you're talking to them uh, as both of the characters, and 5 seconds before they conclude that, it desynced because NPCs fell through the map and must have died off screen because it turned around and goes, civilian casualties will not be tolerated. And it's like, dude, I'm in a narrative cutscene. What are you talking about? That happened
Oh
four
my
times throughout the whole
God.
game. So it's definitely a game that needs a little bit of polish. Thankfully, I didn't lose, much time on that.
Not like
They
an
they
avowed
frequent.
style.
Sorry.
Not like an avowed style thing. Like there was no
Oh
game
no, no, no.
breaking
There was
or
nothing that prevented. Thankfully, like I remember Valhalla, I had one of them instances where I couldn't complete the main story because a key didn't spawn. So none of that happened. It's just weird stuff like that. Um,
can can I ask, like, because like you were talking about earlier, the assassination attempts are all out of order, where you can go and do them however you please. Were there any that were just like a moment happened, and hopefully not too spoilery, but something that was just super fucking sick? We're like, oh, I went through this window and I, like, leapt around to this side and I caught the dude while he wasn't looking. Like, was there anything super sick that happened?
no, no, if I'm being honest. No, no,
Okay.
because this is the thing. I don't mince my words, even on things that I
Yeah.
like. I'm gonna just be brutally honest. Something I really like the introduction of in two previous Assassin's Creed games was I can't remember what they ended up branding it. It's basically the opportunities that you get in Hitman. So both Unity and Syndicate did this. And it allowed you, yeah, it was kind of on rails. You would genuinely were doing, but you would get a really cinematic conclusion to that kill. Or you could just go in there and kill him. It's completely up to you. Because I remember in Syndicate, for instance, you could basically pretend you were a dead body and then they would bring you up onto the stage where he's performing like the medical autopsy, and then you were able to kill him through the cape.
That's
It's like
sick.
that's cool as shit. That's a really cool moment. Like I didn't do anything, but that's a cool cutscene basically.
Right. Yeah.
And no, No, there's none of that in Shadows. The thing I think I mentioned it though. You had about 25 hours in. You had a budget mimic of the opening of The Witcher 2 cutscene with Yasuke. And it was just like the thing of I said it, I think I said it. It was the thing of like, why are you giving me this narrative beat that needed to be at the beginning of the story as a hook, as a reward for like 25, 30 hours in that? That's a joke. Because like,
That
I'm
is.
sorry, Ubisoft. It wasn't as good as that intro to The Witcher 2. So it's not even like you made me wait and it was better. Like it was inferior, but and it's still the best thing that you put in there. And it's just like, Jesus Christ, guys. Um,
Okay, so let me. I do, and I know the people are probably watching this being like, why are you trying to find the positives? But I really do. I know that you have a love for
yeah, I
this
love
game, and I want to like hear that. I want to try to find what that
right.
is. Or is it just so simply like my love for NBA 2K, where it's like I can't really explain it in terms
No,
of the
like I think
quality.
I can kind of
Okay.
explain it. It's the thing of like I'm a history buff. I love history. It was my favorite subject in school. Um, so having an IP where it allows you to visit these historical periods and even just minutely interacting with aspects of that, because that's what I was talking about. I remember you having a criticism of, oh my God, I have to go get a teapot or I have to go do the tea thing. To me, that's intriguing because it's
Right.
learning about tea etiquette and stuff, of them turning around going, right, you need to rotate it like this and putting you through that. And it's just like, yeah, to 90% of people, they're going to be like, holy crap, this is boring as hell. But to me, it was just like, man, this is really interesting learning about a different culture. So that's,
See, I don't think I got to that part. I got to the part where you had to go and grab the seven different things or the six different things, but I never got to a part where, or actually, no, I think I
no,
did get to a
would have
part.
had to because that was the prelude to having to get them tea sets.
Okay.
It was
Yeah.
Sen Rikuyu, I think his name was. He's basically like the tea master, sits you down because you pick out
Hmm.
your outfit, your kimono for the thing,
Yeah, I definitely remember that. And you're
and
in the
you
little
have to
village and there's
interview.
choices you can
You
make
have
with
to
the different
interview all the
people.
different people, yeah, and
Yep.
basically
Yep.
suss them out.
Yep. I remember that. And then
And
there's like,
unfortunately, I sussed her out immediately as the target, so I don't know if I would have killed the wrong person if that would have spurned it into something else. So I have no idea.
right.
Unfortunately,
Um,
I paid attention to their shitty writing, so I wasn't punished.
oh boy, I did not. I started fading. But okay. So your love for history definitely drives a lot
Yep.
for your love for the franchise, your love for this game in particular. Beyond that, is
I
it
just I like the IP. I like the idea of, and this is what kind of it links it round to they didn't execute this well in Shadows because it's setting you in a scenario where the history is the backdrop, but it's mixing in sci-fi elements with the Isu and stuff like that. And I genuinely do enjoy learning about that stuff. It was cool going to the locations that you went to. I don't want to spoil it in Odyssey in the DLCs and stuff like that, and them giving because they give you the historical time period as the realistic thing, but then you have in them time periods mythology, and they found a way to tell that mythology and kind of tie it into the lore as to why that actually did exist, quote unquote, and why nobody else encountered that stuff. So that's kind of what I like about it. Um, but yeah, they've half-assed it in Shadows, both narratively and the sci-fi elements, because you get maybe what four
hmm,
interactions with the sci-fi section, and there's no character tied to it. They're just a blank slate thing.
in terms of like, going prone, being able to yeah, once again, try. But we haven't put out the video yet. I guess to explain further why I'm trying to prod for the positives is we recorded a video where you called this your game of the year.
Yeah, no,
And
but this is
so,
the but that I haven't played that many new titles, so I can kind of get away with that.
but you played Split Fiction. And so like I know that if we both liked the shit out of that. So it's like I'm trying to see the things that you really really enjoyed the most about Shadows. Was there any moments of like going prone, diving underwater, using the bamboo stick to, use it as a breather? Just you just like this
I'm
shit a lot.
What you need to understand is that I don't I game like you're talking to someone who likes Eurojank. Gameplay mechanics don't really bother me. I don't. It can be underbaked. I sat there and played Souls likes where it's stiff animations like that as
Yeah.
attacks, and it's just like just enjoy it. I can't I can't recommend it to people, and I don't
Right.
recommend it to people. It's like me turning around and going like I love Hellpoint as a game. I can't recommend it to people. It's a game I like. I love Risen. I love Elix. I can't sit there and be like, go play it, guys. It'll
Yeah.
rival anything that you have ever played because it won't. Because it's just I put them. They obviously have much more bigger budget than Piranha Bytes did and stuff like that. But it's just a flawed vision for
Mm,
something that I just respect, kind of thing. And it's for those that haven't bothered to learn the stories and the intricacies of the series as a whole. There's not really much there for you. No, of course there isn't. There
right.
never really has been, if you're being honest. It's been fairly underbaked from day one. But when you do get into the weeds of the story and stuff, I don't know, I just enjoy it.
I think the game plays solid. I think the game, like as
Yep.
a video game, it is a totally competent video game. Like it does not play, sure, I'm not saying it plays on the level of, pick your competitor in the space,
Hmm.
but it's damn near as good as a Tsushima. It's damn near as good as a, any of your third person open world action adventure games in terms of raw gameplay. It's right that like playing as Yasuke is incredibly fun, incredibly brutal, and then you have a totally different skill set when playing as Naue, and that's a fun juxtaposition. It's a fun dynamic.
Yep.
I I just wonder, is there anything moving forward? Like you look at something in Shadows and you're like, this has to go? Or is there anything in Shadows where you're like, I really hope to see more of this?
I can't look at them like that because they don't execute their product like that. That's the crazy thing is whenever they've had something really good, it can be the most well received and they just don't like with Odyssey. Being able to scale every single thing, literally Breath of the Wild style, and it's just like that has to be a staple, like moving forward. Like that's just a no-brainer to me. It's just like that
Right.
just that's such a quality of life improvement, and you just choose not to do that. And it's just like, what? So I yeah, actually, the hideout feature I think is dope as shit. Didn't really give that a fair shot. I actually spent. I'm kind of ashamed. I spent about 10 hours in there. I'm not joking.
Hey.
Over the whole thing, like I was getting so like excited whenever I get to a gear vendor and be like, "Ooh, a rock," and stuff. And I did get that. Like, I don't build stuff, but the execution of that system is really good. Furthermore, they did put a patch out yesterday so that it is uncapped frame rate in there. So it's not jarring. I don't know if you noticed that whenever you go back to the hideout, it ran at 30 FPS, so it made it look like it was stuttering because it would
Okay.
go from really smooth to just chugging, it felt like. But yeah, it's a really good system. Night and day better than Fallout 4's crafting, which seems to get a lot of praise by people. But yeah, really love that.
Where would you rank this in terms of the four RPGs, in terms of Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla, Shadows? What is your order? On the spot. You don't have to, this doesn't have to be something
So
that's
I did say as a complete package, I think it's the best. Like when you're putting everything up side by side, pacing, size, and stuff like that, combat, story, like everything side by side, it probably is overall the best. I would say number one. Odyssey for me would be number two. And then I don't really, I mean, Origins, Odyssey, and Origins, Valhalla can
Valhalla.
be interchangeable. and then Mirage can be at the very bottom.
Yeah. I mean, so you're now close to 70 hours into the game. Is this like I'm done?
No, I got
Uh,
100%
you're gonna go through and 100% it.
it. Yeah.
Did you 100% Valhalla?
It's actually no, I didn't. 100% did Origins, Odyssey, Mirage. Valhalla, I did the entire base game and the first two DLCs, but I haven't done the other
So
stuff.
this is your Resident Evil. Like with me, it where I look at Resident Evil, like we just made a video a little bit ago talking about, Resident Evil, I don't view that as a $70 product. I don't think they've ever made a game that's worth $70.
Mhm.
They're all really good. I like all those games a lot. I love those games. It's my favorite franchise ever. But I am aware that it's not up there, up there.
Mhm.
And that's kind of like you
Yeah,
love it despite being aware that it's not that game.
no. And that's why I've never recommended it to people.
Right.
I've never in any time have I sat down and when people have asked me about it and then they say, "Oh, well, what's it like?" And you can basically draw, "Oh, it's like this, and this," but don't go in expecting that. It's
Right.
like it, but you're not going to get that because you're just not. And it's a series that I find perplexing. That I know they changed up the gameplay formula with Origins, but how it got a second wind with as convoluted and as like a big list of like story that you'd have to catch up on as like a Kingdom Hearts game is beyond me. Like I don't understand why so many people jumped onto it. So yeah, it's very strange.
Are you I'll give you the floor now. Anything you want to say last words about Shadows or you want to put
Yep.
a score on it?
Treat it like every other Ubisoft open world. Buy this 2 years down the line because you'll get a much more polished product. You will get all the DLC that they've added, and you will get a fraction of the price. And that is what is kind of, respect yourself as the consumer, unless you're
Yeah.
a diehard fan of AC and howdy friend. We're a
So
dying breed.
I appreciate that review, man. That was very very level-headed. As a diehard fan, I'm not sure I'd be able to give such a level-headed review about a Resident Evil where I'm like off rambling about lore
I
from Leon Kennedy or whatever the fuck.
it's it's the thing of like I'm very self-aware with what I like. I'm very, very, very cognizant of because we're gonna jump in after this. It's gonna be vagrus, and it's I have a lot of positive things to say about that, but it's also some I'm not gonna be able to recommend it.
Oh.
You will not be able to sit there and play that game, and you will just die of boredom. Like it's just not for you in any imaginable sense. Like it is so like I was talking about Assassin's Creed being slow. That's that's a YouTube short compared to vagrus. So yeah, it's I try to be. I dig a lot of games out. I also dig out what I love. I'm not entirely blind by bias, and I think a lot of people are aware of that by now. I dug Veilguard out for stuff. I've dug tons of stuff out.
Well, dude, I guess we're at the fun. Do you are I don't I we really need to sit down and we should do that at a later time. We're already running long as hell, but we need to sit down and figure out this review format of exactly how we want to approach it. Because I don't even, do you want to do a score? If you don't want to do a score, you definitely don't have to
What did you do? Yours out of 100, right?
out of 100 for
I'll
mine.
just
But you can
I'll
do,
just follow that. Um, ooh. So that's where I struggle. Are you wanting me to give the score as to what I genuinely feel about it, or what I feel it should get?
well, so that's the thing. And we need to really sit down one day and just do a full kind of, we need to build our whole format because I really don't know how I did it is like, I don't think my score for South of Midnight is necessarily reflective of, like, I think there are games worse than South of Midnight that at the end of the year I'll end up ranking higher because I personally enjoyed them more. I just think South of Midnight is an actually well-made video game. You know what I mean? Like I think it's a solid product, but I don't love it as much as Atomfall, which is not as it's not as well made as South of Midnight, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, what I'll do is for now. it will be I'll view it as if I'm tying it up against everything else. Like universally, like scoring it as a game.
Yeah,
I
so
don't
if you
know,
would give
74.
like 74. Okay. I mean that sounds fair from everything you've said in the review so far. Because I was thinking like if you would give Pillars 2 a 100 or whatever game you would give a 100, a 90, a 95 or whatever. That's kind of how I think of it. Like for me, a Red Dead 2 is up there as like as close as you can
Wouldn't
get
even
to a
be in the
100.
same country as a Pillars.
But that's what
Absolutely
I'm
not.
so that's kind of how I scale it. If Red Dead 2 is my 100 and if I don't know, day one Cyberpunk is my zero, a game that like literally doesn't work. Like that's kind of my range. So 74.
Yep. And it's currently my game of the year.
Hey,
Crazy.
dude, that's the power of a franchise that you love.
Yep.
I looked past so many of Resident Evil 6's flaws. You know what I mean? Like that probably would have been in my top 10 games of 2012 or whenever that came
But
out, but
that's but that's the thing of when I'm looking at it through the game of the year thing, it's my personal thing.
totally.
And when you turn around and go, "Holy crap, dude! You're like Split Fiction. We played this, and it's like, yeah, in every regard, it's a better game." But I don't know, man. Just enjoyed Shadows more.
Totally understandable. Totally understandable. Well, guys, that is Loon's Assassin's Creed Shadows review. Bunch more reviews on the way, previews, impressions, all of that good shit here on the Game and Ramble YouTube channel. So stay locked in, subscribe, like the video if you want to get it out there to more eyeballs. Massively helps out. So we appreciate you guys. And any parting words before you? This is your final stand for Assassin's Creed Shadows. You got everything off your chest?
Yep. Let's go.
Okay, perfect. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you soon. Goodbye.
See you later.
All right.
I
Um,
mean, come on, I made compelling points. Game of the year material. What are we talking about?
I mean, dude, I think that in all actuality, like if we're being completely honest, I think everybody is in that exact same boat where there's just stuff that you love so much and you'll tolerate the bullshit because of the
Yep.
built up fandom. Like it's just yeah. Um, well, dude, so do you want to hop to Vegas next?
Yeah, this isn't going to be a review. When you're going to be going in, it'll be first impressions. If that's okay, if you brand it as that, because dude, I played like 3 hours of this thing.
Totally fine. Yeah,
This
absolutely.
is like me peeling the cellophane off of the wrapper. Like this is a game I'm going to be pumping 400 hours into.
Oh, is it really? Okay, that was
It
actually one
is
of
a
my questions.
juggernaut of a game.
Okay.
So, do you
Um,
want to jump straight in?
yeah, we can go ahead and jump into it. And I don't have it like in the thumbnail I made for it. I put sleeper hit with a question mark. You think that's fine?
Yeah.
Okay,
No, it's a
cool.
really, really good game. This is the thing of like, and that's what I'll get into. It's going to be one of them things where I don't know if I can recommend it because there
Ooh,
aren't many people
okay.
that play these games. It's just a genre that probably doesn't appeal to people.
Okay. Yeah, I'm really curious. All right. Yeah, we can go ahead and run into that.
All right, 3, 2, 1, let's go.
All right, we are here live on Game and Ramble, the YouTube channel. We appreciate you for stopping by for an impressions. Luna's been playing a possibly a sleeper hit, something I think that came out in 2021 on PC and it's just now releasing on console. Loon, what game have you been playing, my friend?
So it is a game called Vagrus, the Riven Realms. Um, so how I would begin to describe it as a genre, for those that are wondering, if you're familiar with Sunless Skies or Battle Brothers or War Tales, it's kind of like all of them free and they're cherry picking aspects of it and then placing it into this game. So it is very, very, very brutal of a game. Kind of like Darkest Dungeon with like permadeaths and stuff. And party management, both your actual party and having to manage resources to feed them and stuff like that. So yeah, not probably going to be a thing that many people get jumping out of their seat for. Because when I explain it like that, are you particularly pumped to give it a go, Brandon?
Not quite, not quite, my friend. But what I will say is, whenever I was looking at the art style and stuff for the game,
Mm.
I mean, it's a looker. It's quite a beautiful video game. But like, what would you say genre-wise? Is it all turn-based, like grid-based, turn-based
So
tactics, or?
how this works is you have your story that plays out in a Pillars of Eternity-esque thing. So it gives you a text box, it gives you a background, and then it gives you dialogue choices. And these dialogue choices aren't just like ask XYZ question, they are like pen and paper things of where you can enter like a bar and then say you have sleight of hand and stuff like that. It's true role playing
That's sick.
options available. And then so you're going through that, and then it's very heavily menu driven. I'd probably say about 60% of the game. So you're going in and you're looking at your party companions, you're equipping them with gear, you have something called a comatas, I believe is how it is pronounced, because you are a vagrus, which is basically you're a captain of a troop in a world where it's set in a post-apocalyptic ancient Rome, where ancient Rome got so big and powerful that they kicked the shit out of the gods, and then the gods threw a massive tantrum and basically kind of doomsdayed the world. So you have everybody bundled up in these cities, and you're basically a mule to give people trade and stuff like that. You're the you're the lifeline between settlements and stuff like that. If that makes sense.
Yeah. S- I think,
You
yeah, no,
I can't see you, so anytime you're gonna interject, you're gonna have to do it like
quickly, yeah.
aggressively.
Um, so I think my biggest question is, so what it's doing in the genre to set itself apart, is it mainly down to like how the setting, the art style? Because like I said, it looks very different. But is there anything in the gameplay? I mean, that idea of, a pen and paper style role-playing game where you're getting to make all these choices that have a lot of variety and actually feel impactful immediately, that does sound different. Is that like its
Mhm.
main standout element?
So what you end up seeing in this genre um, of games is a lot of time it's randomly generated. So you'll have, say, war tales, and that will randomly generate companions. So they can technically have interactions with one another, but it's very surface level. So basically, say you're on a grid in war tales and you end up backing somebody up to protect them, they can gain like friendship from that. But there's not heavily narrative instances between that while you're traveling and stuff. And the same is with like Mount and Blade. A lot of it is very, very, very surface level stuff. And the same with Battle Brothers, where it's just it pre-generates a name of a location and the name of a person and the name of a location. Like it's just all. Whereas this is, to my knowledge, it's all set in stone. These places are. They've gone out and meticulously written lore for every single aspect of this game. Every
Wow.
location is fixed. Every person that you're bringing into your party is like fixed. Because what I noticed as well is that you purchase the game for £26, so whatever that equivalent is in dollars, like 30 or
Right.
whatever. And that's for the base game. And you play this like tutorial section kind of thing. And what was kind of interesting is that I remember flicking through the DLC menu, and there's characters in that prologue thing that they bring back, but in the pictures of the DLC, they're much older. So that's kind of cool. So it's basically telling you that this prologue that it's setting up the world is going to be set a bit in the past. So you're going to influence the world, and then when you go out into your actual campaign, time would have elapsed. You'll be
Oh,
more familiar
wow.
with the world, and you're able to. You do have to purchase them, unfortunately, but If I'm being 100% honest, the writing on display in this game is so like the amount of praise I give to Pillars and it being a CRPG, single player RPG, the fact that this is like a party based management thing, it has no right in writing the story as well as it is. It's baffling how good this is. It's baffling how compelling these characters are.
Wow.
Like, for instance, I played the opening hour, and in that opening hour, a lot of it was party management with one combat encounter. And I do kind of feel bad that I cut it at that point because the next hour after that was a ton more interesting. You end up meeting like this Roman centurion battling undead and stuff, and it really opens up of like, wow, they have like a full-fledged like there's gods with you can click any time as well. Do you know Avowed, how it had the highlighted things of the
Yeah.
lore? It has
Hmm.
all of that. This is a game from
Damn.
2020, like you said, 2021, roughly about then, of an indie project who, if I'm not mistaken, 9 people worked on this game.
Oh my
It's a
God.
nine-man team or women, however many the
Yeah.
people, and just going through and just walls of text, and it's not just like fluff either. Like it's interesting reads of like what you would expect from like a fantasy novelist, and you're like, oh damn, that's kind of interesting. And then when they're giving the characters and everything, they're very believable in that world that they're creating, and it's kind of crazy because a lot of games will just play into like the tropes and stuff, but you get immediately invested when a game takes its lore seriously. When you're sitting there and reading something that somebody's written, and then that character is mimicking that to a T, that just scratches all the right itches for me. Because it's like, okay,
Yeah.
you're paying attention to what you've written and you're taking it seriously. Like that's amazing. Because you could
Right.
easily write something and be like, okay, here's the fluff for this background faction, blah blah blah, and then here's a character, and then he is the complete polar opposite of what all of their values stand for, and it's just like, well, that's kind of shittily written. But
And
this is just amazing.
you said it's a beast of a game. Like it's a juggernaut long.
Yeah,
Uh
I imagine. So, for instance, you're looking at Battle Brothers. You could squeeze probably about 60 hours on average of a campaign
okay.
out of that. Mountain
I'm a
Blade, 100.
I'm gonna look up how long to beat just to
I was
see.
gonna say, I don't know. I hope that it's not gonna like estimate that prologue as like the story and brand it as that because that would be very, very sad.
Yeah, so you
Um,
got 46 or 48 hours for the main story and then 137 for main and side.
yes, but it's gonna
And
take me so much longer than that when I'm reading every single thing. It's just, it's so beautiful when you stumble upon an indie game that you had no knowledge about because obviously this is a very niche genre for one. This isn't something that usually gets published on console. It's not, I don't want to be rude. It's not made a big splash on PC. It has a dedicated player base and fans, but it's not War Tales level of success. It's not, I don't even think Battle Brothers level of success, which even is fairly niche. Excuse me.
yeah. So is this something that like you're definitely wanting to see more of, or like how is your belief in locking in to see more of this thing?
I'm going to be brutally honest. I don't think there can be many studios that can achieve what they've achieved. They love this it's like when I stumbled upon Pillars and reading through all the lore in that game. It's like, oh my God, this is like you've it's the Sven Vink thing. You've made this game because you love this. This is a setting and a story that you actually wanted to tell. You've not been forced to make this. You've not all come together into a room and been like, oh, let's go make a game. What are we gonna make? Oh, we're gonna make this. That what this feels like is that they all were playing a D&D campaign and were like, holy shit, this would make an amazing game.
Hmm.
And then they were like, okay, cool. What can we like get as like a cool interest? Because they've not gone with like a what's the word? A generic like backdrop either. Like you're talking
Yeah.
about ancient Rome expanding to the point of like modern day globalization and then imploding in itself because the gods
That
are
is
like, man,
super
get the
cool.
fuck out of here, and they just get slapped the shit out of. It's just, oh, it's so damn good. And I love as well, the game isn't afraid of slapping you really early on because you come out of this city and it's building up like, oh, you need to be like a roguish smuggler and stuff, and you need to like squeeze everybody for every ounce. And then you're slowly making your way through like this area, and then you get an event where your scout goes, "Oh my god!" Like he's rode his horse to like almost exhaustion and death, and he's jumped off of it, and it's presenting, and he's like he can't get the words out, and he's just talking like there's ghosts around the corner and stuff, and it's like so early on establishing that threat of like you can't face these ghosts.
Wait, so there's some voice acting?
Yeah,
Oh,
there wasn't voice acting for him, but there is voice
okay.
acting. I should clarify.
Okay.
There is. I wish there was more voice acting. It is fairly minimal. The voice acting that is there is incredibly well spoken, though. I don't know if they would ever be able to
Right.
fund like it's a nine-person team with like 500 players, like kind of
Yeah.
thing of that level of success. I would hope that if they could like set up a Patreon, I'd happily kick like 10, 15, 20 their way to get like voice acting and stuff.
I'll
But
throw a voice in there.
yeah, they set that up, and it's there's nothing that I like more than a game that isn't afraid to show you the perils of its world, if that makes sense. Because you have so many things in RPGs where it's like, oh yeah, but you can just, if you're good enough, you can beat it. If you can think it, and it's just like, no, like these, right now you're an exhausted like caravan. You don't have the ability. So it was basically run or hide. They were your two options. That was the exact. It was run away as fast as you can, so get all your things and try to like escape, or hunker down behind rocks and hope that like you're in this like valley, so you hope that the clouds come down and give you cover, and thankfully they did. And then the game is also like, okay, well, because we didn't give you that option, we will give you a little bit of a bone. And it was like, so how risky do you want to take this? Because you can peek out from behind the rock to try and see what they look like and gain knowledge, because knowledge is worth so much in that world because it's such a dangerous world. So if you could even just sell that knowledge to somebody, or you can just basically play it really, really safe.
So
So,
is it like is it locked in at a normal difficulty or is there an ultra hard, ultra
so
easy?
they have the standard difficulty where it's saying it's intended to be a brutal game and stuff. They do offer an easy difficulty, but it disables achievements. So that
No,
does.
like hard mode or anything?
I mean, the base game is hard mode.
Brutal,
It's a
right.
brutal game. It's kind of like how Darkest Dungeon doesn't need a difficulty because it's just ramped in a certain way of just yeah. Once you play it and you're replaying campaigns enough, you kind of get a feeling as to oh, if you're like very early in the game, don't mess with that like level of creature, and that's kind
Right.
of what this is.
Well, shit, dude. Sounds like a sleeper hit.
Also, I wanted to further shout praise out to. Let me make sure I get their name correct. I don't wanna sell them short because they are awesome. But the
Okay.
developers of the game, um, they don't name themselves properly. They just list themselves as Vagrus on YouTube. I think it was Lost Pilgrims Studios
I
is
could
the name
actually
of
look it
the
up while you talk.
yeah, if you wouldn't mind. So I put out an opening hour impression like I do with all the different games that I play on the channel. Over on my channel, I should add. And it's basically like a test to see if I want to do an entire series on it, like I've done with Assassin's Creed, Rage, Ghostwire Tokyo, and stuff. I'm not doing an entire series on that because my voice was shot by the end of it, the amount of reading. And it's the type of thing where like I'd want to read it in my head rather than out aloud. Because even like sitting here for the time that we do these, your voice does begin to get a bit coarse after a
Yeah.
while. But they had no right in that flying onto their radar. It got 34 views And the second comment on that video, so that was like less than 24 hours after it goes live, is thank you so much for this video. Highly appreciate it.
That's awesome, man.
That, and it's from their official thing. It's just like that is so heartwarming that like, look, man, they didn't have to do that.
Yeah,
They didn't have to acknowledge that. It's not going to do them any good in the grand scheme of things. It's just they love that people are experiencing and loving their product, and that's
yeah,
so awesome because it shows that they love it.
totally. And the name of the studio is you had it correct, Lost Pilgrim Studios.
Yep.
So absolutely,
So
dude.
what I will say is because you're going to ask me if I recommend it. I only recommend it under these exact conditions. Do you enjoy Battle Brothers? Do you enjoy War Tales? Do you enjoy Mountain Blade? If you enjoyed any of them titles, and Darkest Dungeon we'll throw in there as well for the brutality and stuff. And you genuinely like, I'm not talking about putting it in for a few hours and then like being like, yeah, it's kind of cool and then bouncing out. Like if they sucked your life away in the way that they sucked my
Right.
life away, you are going to fall in love with this world. This world is so beautifully, so perfectly crafted. And I genuinely cannot wait for payday so that I can go and buy the DLCs that are outstanding in that game and show my support further to their amazing studio. So please, 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 if it is of any interest, make sure to go and give them support. I don't know, it should have released on PlayStation. I
It
know it
did.
released on Switch
Yeah,
as well, so it's literally everywhere. Um, so that's awesome. They deserve nothing but the best.
absolutely. Well, dude, you you definitely Vagrus, the Riven Realms. Like I'm not trying to be rude, but like that's a name that I didn't even know
Mm,
about until you put it on my radar. So now you're putting it on many more people's radar.
It's going to
Vag
be something. It's that thing of where not to be rude to them, it's the type of thing where that will just ricochet off somebody if they're scrolling through a store. The only thing that catches your eye is the art style, which I will say is beautifully done.
Yeah,
Um, but unfortunately, that name is not. It's not really something where like, oh well, that caught my eye. The only reason I looked at it is because of that art style.
yeah. And it is a thing where like Vagrus, the Riven Realms, like there is it does somewhat roll off the tongue, but it's not like it doesn't have the pop to it. The name doesn't quite have the pop to it. But Vagrus, the Riven Realms is the name. And yeah, man, check
Do
it
we
out if
give
you are
do we give scores on first impressions
nah,
or
that's tough to score first impression. I mean, you,
no? It ain't.
I would like to hold that off just for full reviews that for games we've beat because it's like it's impossible to say, you know, it could be completely buggy like Baldur's Gate 3 the last act or whatever and then it's I don't know, it'd feel weird to me to say yeah, it's a 10 out of 10 and then people get it and it's totally busted after like 7
It's
hours.
a high number if I could.
Nice. Well, shit yeah, dude. Vagrus, The Riven Realms. Check it out if you are interested. Any parting words you want to give to the game before we dip out of here?
Um, I I hope that it gets more DLCs. I think if it released in like 2021 and it's still they're releasing it on consoles, you think it had legs. So they're clearly not done with it. The only thing I'd want to see as an improvement is the thing that I think is impossible, which is just full voice acting.
Right.
I mean, even if they can just distribute that out like bit by bit, I think that would do wonders for this game. Because that's what a lot of like CRPG fans yearn for and stuff is just having full voice acting.
Yeah, it's a game changer. Like Disco Elysium, for example, when that
Yep.
came to Disco Elysium, total game changer. So, yeah, man. Hey, if y'all need a voice, hit us up. We'll throw a voice in there. We'll voice a character. But
Hello.
yeah, man. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. That is Vagrus the Riven Realms. And yeah, we we do something here on the channel. We ramble about games. This is Game and Ramble. Subscribe if you like it. Like the content if you like it. Helps it get out to more people. Boosted up the old algorithm. And that's it, man. We shall see you very soon. Take it easy, guys. And yeah, goodbye.
See you later.
I cannot get those intros and outros. I fucking struggle with those damn intros and outros, boy.
Hey, at least you're giving something for them truck drivers to chuckle to. Be like, haha, he screwed another one up.
He
There you go. You
screwed
can make
four in
a
a
you can
row.
make like a betting jar every time he does it.
It's every time. You
Treat
don't have to
yourself
guess.
to a burger or something at the next break.
I hope we didn't sound like shilly there. Like at a certain point, I was like, how many damn times am I gonna say the name of this fucking game? And because
It
I
does
at
it,
the
it the thing is it deserves it though. With an indie game, you need to fan that flame of, and it is genuinely something like I would have happily rated that. And I guess the
yeah.
long form people will hear it. It would happily be in the 90s, even if it came out buggy and stuff like that. I don't even see it coming out buggy. There's no way that they would release a game 4 years and a bit onto a console and it'd be buggy in that state. That it may have
Yeah.
teething issues, but there's no way that that's bugged.
No, I don't think you sounded chilly. I was saying for myself specifically, I said Vagrus the Riven Realm like 12 times at the end of the
No,
just
that's
because
good
like
though. Drill it in their heads.
but it was more so because I suck at the fucking outros where I'm trying to figure out a way to get like to finish off the video and I'm like Vagrus the Riven Realm, huh? Vagrus the Riven. Jesus Christ, dude, you're gonna make people think you're paid to fucking promote this damn video game, which for the long form viewers, we have never and will never ever be paid to promote any fucking well, I mean, we'll take ads for non-game related things. Like if you want to say, hey, fucking great value purified drinking water. If you want to come over and sponsor us, we'll take anything. Not how do you feel about that? And I guess this is another exclusive for the long form people, but how do you feel about that? Because I know people will take
Mm,
sponsorships to do like to play games
I
or
so where I draw the line, and it's the kind of thing where like any level of hypocrisy can be, drawn because it's like I wouldn't feel comfortable because what you were saying, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that if it's not a product that I would eat, drink, stuff like that. If I'm not putting it in my body, I wouldn't feel comfortable in promoting someone else to put it in their body. If it's a game, at the end of the day, it's a piece of entertainment that's I'm not going to feel the same. It doesn't have health implications tied to it personally. So if even if it's a genuinely like if you were sitting there and being like, yeah, over the rigs racing, buy it now, like no. Like obviously not that, but like if they hit us up, for instance, which obviously they wouldn't have, but as an example, if they saw that and then saw that I linked your channel, like, oh, they got a thing, and they'd be like, oh, would you mind like shouting out? We'll give you like codes or kick you a bit of money. I wouldn't have felt bad about that. Given that game exposure, it deserves it. All the no,
I will never
no.
once. No, never, ever. I mean, I'm not, we ain't got to get into this debate right here, right now, because obviously we're not clipping this, but
I mean, we are
it
for the
is,
long form.
yeah, that is true. But no, that's something I'll never do on the channel. If I will happily, promote a drink, of food, or whatever if I like the product. If it's something I eat, something I drink, like you said. But I just think it gets really messy where it's like, hey, we'll pay you to play this game. Paying to
even
play is
even if it's unrestricted, because like Mort, that's how he gets like his codes and stuff. So he's able to keep up the output.
well, they don't pay him for the codes; they just give the code.
No,
You
but
can get
that's a form of payment though. They're giving you something in return for something else. It's free marketing. That's what I was talking about. For me, the money is it's the same thing. But as I said, the codes. If they were to hit us up and be like, you can give away two free codes while
yeah, but
talking
you can
about it.
get a code and shit on a game. So it's not like there's no actual deal being struck. Like you can dog the shit out of the game and still get a code.
That's fair.
You know what I'm saying? Like, say for example, like IGN, if they give something a 5 out of 10, they still got a code to give it a 5 out of 10 or 4 out of 10.
Mm. I mean, some of them have been petty and pulled in the past. Some devs for not having like favored things, and that's where like I don't like that interaction. It would be like written in stone that like if I'm gonna give a opinion on it, it'll be my opinion.
No, yeah, totally. I'm saying like, all right, so you're saying, so I think we agree, is like, is
Yeah, I
if they
agree.
give
Yeah,
you,
that side, the money side also, I don't. It doesn't really bother me if I would take payment for it because it's. I would still. It wouldn't influence. You've just sat and listened to me rip to shreds Assassin's Creed Shadows. Like nothing monetary. It doesn't matter. Like I'll always give genuine opinion. Like I don't get swayed by stuff. It's just not me.
I, yeah, I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is perception. Like, if you're getting paid to review a game and you also, if you're getting paid directly by the publisher to review a
Mhm.
game and you also have a site where you're reviewing games that you want the public to take seriously, I don't think you'll ever be taken seriously if you're getting paid by a publisher.
I mean, it for me, it just depends on whether or not they're being genuine. If you can look back and be like, oh, they've since they did get that and they changed their tune on certain stuff that they
But
criticized in the past.
they'd think that about everything. Like if you gave Assassin's Creed Shadows a 7.4, they would have thought if you weren't paid, you would have gave it a 5.4 or 6.4. That's why I think it's you can't in my opinion, everybody can do whatever they want,
Hmm.
but in my opinion, you cannot take money from a publisher or a developer at any you can get a review code, sure, but actual exchanging of money, I man, that's so sketchy to me.
I mean, I don't know the ins and outs behind stuff. Like you, whenever they've reached out to you. So obviously, I have no
Yeah.
hand in that. So I
I
don't
don't
know. Like
even yeah.
I don't even know
I
how
don't
them conversations go. That was all
I
just
don't
me being a genuine. Like I'm clueless when it comes to it. That's just how I would
right.
perceive it as somebody who's never had to interact with any of that stuff.
Yeah, I don't even take codes. I've been offered codes for certain games. I don't even take codes. And I know that's super weird. And like, that is not, that is where I will say I go way too far, where I won't even, I just, for my thing is like, I would rather everything be between me and the viewer. And like, if we can grow this thing enough between me and the viewer to where it becomes something that's sustainable, profitable, whatever, then cool. But if it ever has to go beyond that to where it's like, the actual publishers and shit are funding our career, then it's not a career that I want to have because there's no authenticity, in my opinion, at that point, where it's like they're just you're a shill. Like that's literally a shill, in my opinion, where you're being paid directly by the industry that you're supposed to cover. Um, but it's sketchy because there's a lot of streamers and shit who do get paid for playing the games directly by the company and people still take them seriously, which I think is kind of laughable. But it is what it is. It's I we're in a new age. But yeah, I mean, I think that that's pretty much all that we have for today. I guess we could what time we're oh shit, yeah, 3 hours and 40 minutes. Let's see. Was there anything else we had on the docket today?
There wasn't anything lined up, but as I've said time and time again, however much you want to push out, push out.
Mm,
Atomfall. You want to talk about Atomfall?
nah, if I would be willing to cut Adam Fall for a fun topic though, potentially. Well, I'm not saying like Adam
Wow.
Fall's
Unlucky Rebellion.
I'm just saying it's because everything we've done so far is news and reviews. Like if there was something we could throw in there as like
Oh, like a
a
miscellaneous.
right,
I
exactly.
think that's what we should do every time. We'll go dig one out for the long
Okay.
form. Keep that as like a finale,
Okay.
so that they get a little bit of everything, so they
Yeah.
don't miss out.
Um, so I'm thinking something quick though, because we have been recording for long as shit. Something we can get out in 25 minutes or so. Let's see. Some ideas I have is our 10 out of 10 games. That'll be way too long. How to get out of a gaming slump. I think that might be somewhat easier. Was gaming actually better when we were younger? Mm,
Games that need physical releases.
That'd probably be pretty quick.
How many of them did you want to pick?
Uh, let's do. You want to do five apiece? Well, we'd have to prepare like a motherfucker for it to find the five games. Would it be easy for you to find the five games?
I mean, I already have like three off the top of my head.
Okay, perfect. Well, then let's see. I'll jot down a couple real quick. I know two for sure. Okay. Let me go to my trophies and see if there's.
Um,
Now, how would you want to do this on the production end?
I mean, you can begin talking about it, and it'll just take me a few seconds to get the trailer.
Okay,
So I won't be able to roll it straight away, but it's fairly
right.
quick. Alrighty.
Mm, let's see, let's see.
You said five apiece, right?
Yeah, we'll do five apiece, rapid fire run through them. And what we could do, if you really want to, is we could pause the Zoom recording. I could tell you my five, and then that way you could have them lined up, or if you would
Yeah,
rather.
we can do that.
All
Speed
right.
up. See you in a minute, guys. The trailers have been accumulated.
Behind the scenes, behind the scenes. But we had to cut it off because we couldn't get you too much behind the scenes. We don't want to
Yeah, I
spoil
couldn't tell
everything
you
for
what they
you.
were. That needs to remain a surprise. Right, do you want me to count you in?
Yeah, let's get it.
Three, two, one, let's go.
Today we are talking about 10 games that need PS5, Xbox Series X, Switch 2 physical releases. Games that are absolute classics but are languishing in the digital wasteland. We got to bring them bad boys to the physical space. Lone, I'll let you kick it off with your first game that you need a physical copy of, my friend.
So, it kind of shocks me this never got a physical copy, but Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader.
Oh wow.
Um, Alcat funded both their previous titles to get physicals, so Kingmaker and Wrath of the Righteous. What kind of makes me sad is that obviously Warhammer doesn't really get all that many games. It's only up until recently that we've really seen a ton of support for the IP. But yeah, they for some reason opted to not go physical, and the only reason I can think of why is well, two. Obviously, physicals are a dying way of selling a product, but Alcat don't release very polished day one products. Unfortunately, both of Wrath of the Righteous and Kingmaker are not going to be very good to play down the line, disc
Right.
wise, when the internet gets shut off. So I don't really blame them, if I'm being honest. But that's one I would really, really, really want to see. That's why I've chosen it as my first one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go in so mine is one that's never gonna happen. It never can happen at this point, and that is for Rollerdrome. And this is never gonna happen because the studio no longer exists. Total bummer. When Take Two started cutting shit and you know during the round of never-ending layoffs in 2024, unfortunately, Roll 7, the studio got completely axed. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Rollerdrome is no longer even available for purchase digitally.
Oh,
Yeah. I could be wrong on that. You correct me in the
I can quickly
comments.
have a look.
Yeah, but I don't think you can even purchase it digitally anymore, which is absolutely fucking crazy. The game is fantastic. Tony Hawk meets Max Payne. It's so unbelievably fun, and it's such a bummer that it will, it's just gone. Like it will never be preserved now that the studio is under and there was no physical copy that was printed. So this is more of a wish one, but yeah,
Holy shit, it has been delisted.
you
That's
can't buy it at all, right?
insane. It's not even on the store to like show. Has it been pulled from my library?
Did you download it?
I mean, I think I purchased it.
It's crazy, man. It's such a bummer because
Yeah,
I got
I
it.
got it.
You do?
Show install. Not currently available. Yikes.
Wild, dude. It's so, so wild. And that's the thing, like, we talk about the whole physical versus digital and all that. It's like, man, I know it's tough. I know it's an extra bit of money that you're having to put up front, but man, if you can get your game on a disc, and sure, discs rot, but like, yeah, 500 years from now, our discs will rot. That we can worry about it then. But like, there are you see situations like this far too often where games are just great games like Rollerdrome. And this is a single player, like there's no multiplayer. This should not have vanished and it is completely gone. It's really sad. So Rollerdrome would be my first one.
Right, well, my second one is a series that actually, at one point in its life cycle, did receive physicals. The very early 360 games. That's Football Manager. We had free releases of physicals, and then they stopped printing the game on consoles altogether. And then it was only about, I think it was either Football Manager 2019 or 2020, one of those two, that was where it brought it back to consoles. And we saw it paired with Game Pass as day one, as it has done every subsequent year after that, barring this year, as the game was just cancelled as they're moving to a new engine. But yeah, man, like it's so unfortunate that you're gonna have instances like this where it's a year to buy the game. Obviously, you keep it unless they forcefully pull it from your digital libraries, which they always have the right to do that, as they've done with some games. But that's it. You just get a year with that roster, essentially, of players. And that may have been, for instance, you look back in like 10 years' time, that may have been your favorite era of that sport.
Right.
And you're never going to be able to unless you're on PC. And this is why it doesn't bother PC players because they can mod it.
Yeah.
They've got things in the current Football Manager 2024 where it's classic databases from like 1970, 1980 and stuff like that. So it doesn't bother them because they're able to tinker with that stuff. But that's where they have the advantages where console players don't. We have a year, and it's like it's not, and that's just not a dig against Football Manager. That's you have NBA and stuff, but the difference is with NBA they at least give you that physical. So Football Manager didn't with its return. They chose to take that Game Pass money and never offer a physical, unfortunately. And they
Yeah,
will
it's
never
such a
get
bummer.
physicals because that requires them to relicense it, and you don't. There's never going to be a sports game in time where they go back and relicense. Here's a 2020 football game, a 20 like NBA 2020. Like that's never happening ever again.
Never. Yeah, it's such a bummer too, dude, because like even I was wanting to play NFL 2K5 the other night, which I do have physical copies for, but I just didn't want to hook up my PS2 or my fat PS3 or the 360. Like, I don't want to go through all the hassle hooking everything up. And it's that is the one very compelling thing about the PC space. Where it's like, I could just emulate this bad boy and have it running in 2 seconds. But yeah. So my third game on the docket is going to be one that is criminal that there's not a physical release coming from the literal most fucking profitable, I believe, the biggest company on the planet, Microsoft. Hi-Fi Rush. This is one of the best games in recent years. It is the art style, and that's the thing too, Loon. The damn physical copy would look so good on a shelf. You know that those colors would pop. You'd see the chai and 808, and they'd have the like. It would just be such a happy piece of physical media in your collection to look at. I love. I'm looking just at some of the games over here. Like it's a lot of whites and blacks and grays, the spine of them, and it's just boring. But then you'll see something like a Pepper Grinder or a Baldur's Gate 3 or for like a Cyberpunk over there or Indica, where it's like that spine's got it's got a cool color to it, a cool neon. It's just I really appreciate um having a little bit of spice in your rotation when you're looking at your shelves. So I know Hi-Fi Rush would deliver in spades in that element. And plus, just such a good game. And they were supposed to get a physical release through limited run games, but I have no idea. I guess after Microsoft sold Tango to Krafton, I believe,
Yep.
I think everything went up in smoke.
Yeah, it kind of because they obviously partnered with Microsoft, so they're like, oh yeah, we'll definitely be getting a physical with them, and then that whole debacle happened of them selling it, and it's just like, oh, I guess not then, because I don't see Crafton giving a crap about physical.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Absolutely absurd. But yeah, Hi-Fi Rush got to shout that one out. Fantastic video game. Should have got a physical.
Right, me next, right?
Yes, sir.
Quickly tab, quick. Right. So the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters were announced finally for Xbox. I think they came last year, if I'm not mistaken, after being available elsewhere on PlayStation. How long has that been out? Do you know? On PlayStation, a couple of years,
Few
right?
years, yeah.
Yeah, and they finally made their way over. Unfortunately, we didn't get the physical, and that really stings because it would have been so awesome to have all of them side by side on a shelf. Solely speaking, obviously for me being a
Yeah.
greedy physical collector, but yeah, I do hope that like limited run or something picks it up to give it a physical print because it's the thing that would sell a ton, and I know it will sell a ton even on Xbox because the amount of orders that they got for the Persona games was astronomical. When you're looking at like limited run and stuff, and you see how many times like the game gets wish listed and stuff like that, and then when I got my copy and stuff, it gives you like the numbered. This is your number of, and it was it breached the thousands. So clearly enough people want it.
Yeah.
So I would love for them to hopefully one day go to limited run and give them the old pixel remasters and have that on my shelf.
I do think y'all will be getting, I don't know about the Pixel remasters, but I would assume y'all will be getting the physicals for like Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy 7. Now that 7 was just announced recently for Switch 2, I would assume Xbox gets that announcement in June as
I
well.
I know we're gonna get the game. I think the remake's heavily likely to drop this year. With the rumors, um, I don't know if we'll get a physical though. I struggle to see it because Square just wants the biggest excuse to cut costs. So if they can just fully digital release that, which will make me laugh because Crisis Core thing got a physical print and Stranger of Paradise got a physical print. It's like, man, if you actually skip Seven's remake in a physical print, that's criminal.
It could be day one Game Pass too.
Exactly,
I could see that
and that
where
would give them a very, very easy excuse to be like, "Well, it's day one Game Pass, guys. We're giving you
exactly.
something." It's like,
Yeah. They
don't
pay a
football
hundred
manager
mil.
me, man. I'm sick of it.
Yeah, if they pay 100 mil to get it over there on Game Pass, Square's like shit. We'll ride this out to the bank. All right. So my next one up is actually going to be a day one Game Pass title that I played over there on the old Xbox, and that is Immortality. This is from Sam Barlow, creator of Her Story, and then he kind of has a expertise in this FMV space at this point, and I would just really like to see this in some sort of cool ass like VHS, like just really lean into it with a ultra special edition where you got the scripts lined out, or like I think they could get really cool with a special
Mm.
edition version of Immortality because it's three separate films that you're piecing together. So I don't know exactly, maybe three different. I don't know how exactly you would do it in the most creative way, but something where you see three different films. And obviously, you're not going to put a individual disc in each of the boxes, but yeah, I think there could be some cool special edition features for an Immortality release just based on the actual concept of the game. So Yeah, man, that was a really, really special experience, and it's a bummer that there is no physical copy of that bad boy.
That'd be worrying for a second there because the I've not played it, so you turn and thankfully you were like, oh, it's like pixelated kind of thing, like stylized VHS kind of quality. Because that opening thing is that quality, and then it was like, oh, and then it turned to her as a character. It's like, oh, thank God. I thought it
Yeah,
was like
no.
giving. I was like, oh no.
No, it's mostly all in modern day like visual aesthetics, but
Yeah.
it's that's a game, boy. That is a interesting motherfucker. That they do some shit in that game that I won't spoil, but very, very shocking.
Right. Well, you dinged Microsoft for their poor, poor, poor choices as to not giving physicals. How the hell did we launch this year? And the big RPG that they decide to plop out being avowed not launch with a physical.
Right,
It is
yeah.
baffling. It is absolutely baffling. Um, and it's kind of the worrying precedence that I think they're setting is I don't think they have really any interest moving forward in preserving media. I think they've gone down that route. Not enough people came over to show that they cared, maybe
Yeah.
is what it was, and just that what they were hoping for was scooping people up who are very, very nostalgia driven. But it's like, dude, you're trying to basically then scoop up Nintendo players. They're not going to go from Nintendo to you
Yeah.
with your stigma of being heavily DRM. So
It's
it's kind of baffling. I know it's a big, big game. It came in at around 90-ish gigabytes as a version 1.0. It's obviously
that is true.
expanded since then. So it would have required them if they wanted everything on disk to either two disk print it or for the first time ever license out a Sony patented like
Right.
whatever their disk that they use to have
Yeah.
bigger things, but they wouldn't do that. So
I I didn't even think about this. It's going to be really interesting to see if Outer Worlds 2 launches physically because it's coming to PS5 day one. And so like are they going to, since PS5 physical games still sell pretty damn well,
I
are they
think
going?
that will be one of the outliers. It's kind of like if Starfield ever goes over, that'll get a physical print.
Yeah,
Um, Elder Scrolls 6, for instance, that is
right.
something that you probably would get a physical print of, even if you're over on Xbox. I think they would still print that physically out of you. It's kind of an expectation at that point. It would be very, very strange to get. No, that's a fully digital game now. That would be a
Right.
very weird turn.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see, man.
Because
The
Doom's
next,
getting physical this
yep,
this year.
Doom is, Indiana Jones is, but I think Indiana Jones is still a coaster on PlayStation, unfortunately. That's why I'm not picking it up. So, next up on my list is going to be the only Supergiant game that never got a physical release, and that, my friends, is Pyre. I think this is I just I like this more than Hades. I know that's gonna sound crazy to people, but I adore this video game and I just want it in my collection. It's probably the second or third best sports video game I've ever played in my friggin' life. It is
Damn, that is
fantastic.
gleaming praise.
Dude, real shit. Like I would say under NFL 2K5 and under it might just be under NFL 2K5, not including wrestling in with that, but like which I guess you could throw because Pyre is not like some sort of simulation sports game at all. But um, yeah, I mean, under NFL 2K5, and that's about it. This is so fun. And to
Hmm.
create a sports game with a story that you care that much about, like, yeah, I just need that. I need that sitting on my shelf desperately. And I don't know. Maybe it will one day. Maybe they do like a super giant bundle or some shit. I wouldn't be too shocked to see that. I remember they did an Annapurna
Yeah,
bundle with limited run. I wouldn't be
yeah, I
too
could see
shocked to
that.
see it. Yeah.
I could see that.
All right. What you got up next for me, my friend?
Right, this is my final one. and I'm hoping that you put out my review of this game beforehand, so it doesn't spoil. But Vagrus, the Riven Realms, um, recently launched on consoles everywhere: Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, and I'm very, very early in. But like I said, it just feels like it genuinely does feel like pillars in a sandbox, which is awesome. The narrative that's being written is phenomenal. The characters are interesting. The lore is really, really compelling. The combat is a little bit is probably its weakest aspect, but it functions. So, but I would love to see games like this because I don't think we got because Battle Brothers never got a physical, War Tales also never got a physical. Like none of these genres ever get physicals, and it's so 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 sad. Because once
Yeah.
they get yanked from digital storefronts, like they didn't sell well to begin with. So if anybody like 10 years down the line turns around and goes, "Oh, did you play Vagrus?" and then you go and look for it on the storefront and it's been yanked,
Yeah.
unlucky.
And that's another one that the art style would look so sick on a
Yeah.
box, man. I could see that kind of sandy sort of aesthetic and the yeah, man, that would look and that I don't know what the creature is called on the front of it, but it's just a sick looking weird ass little creature. I'd love to see that on box art. Well, we're down to my final pick, going back to Game Pass, and that is for Dungeons of Hinterberg. It was, I think, my second or third favorite game of 2024. I adored this thing. It's like a Persona meets, Persona meets Zelda to lesser extent on both ends. Like it's not full on Persona or full on Zelda, but it's like a scaled back version of that where you got dungeon crawling by day and social sim systems by night, and it's a cool, cute, charming, fun game with excellent puzzle solving. I think the puzzle design in that game is so good. And it's another one where it's like, I just want this thing preserved. I don't want to run into a situation like we've talked about 100 times where one day we flip on our Xbox and, oh, Rollerdrome is no longer there. You flip on your PlayStation and, oh, this football manager game is no longer there. Yeah. So I'd like to be able to play this for years to come because it is a fantastic video game.
Now, to spice it up with the final
Oh
thing,
no.
if you could only have one,
Ooh.
and that is it. So the gods came, the gaming gods came down from their throne and said, "All right, we heard your five requests. You can only have one. The rest remain digital." And I was going to even go even harder and be like, and I will pull them from the storefronts, but I won't.
Okay, well, if
um,
you're not doing that, then it makes the easy answer for me, Rollerdrome, because it's the only one that has been pulled. So it's like
okay, well,
if
we'll
I
spice it up then. The rest of them disappear out from
okay.
being purchased. Then you answered that way too
Ooh.
easy. That's unacceptable.
I would have to go Pyre. Yeah, I'd have to go Pyre. I mean, it's just too good. And it's that's the thing as well, Loon, where it's too old. And I get that worry in my gut where it's like this thing it's been quite some years since we've seen this game release.
Yeah,
And
8 years, right?
yeah. And so while I can be hopeful for a super giant collection, I feel like it's the most iffy on the list of ever getting a physical print run. So yeah, I'm gonna go Pyre.
I hate that I've asked this question because it hurts.
Which
Right,
of
Football
yours?
Manager can get scratched out because that happens anyway, so it doesn't feel like as big of a sting. I'm sorry, Vegas, you're amazing, but there's plenty of other games that kind of do what you do. As much as I love you,
Yeah.
Avowed burned me, so I'll burn it back. And I never thought I'd live to see the day where Final Fantasy 1 to 6 were ever going to be on a console, so it doesn't really bother me if that was to disappear. So I'm going to go Rogue Trader because
Rogue
anything
Trader.
Warhammer related has to be preserved for the Emperor of Mankind.
Yeah, and it's nice to have those spines, man. I know it's a weird thing, but like I want to go and grab RE2, RE3 so it can go along with RE4, RE7, and RE8,
Hmm.
like it's nice to have those spines. We're weirdos. We get it.
Yep. And it's also, you can't make it out. We kind of can. That's why my method of organization is so skew-if. And it's because I do that, where I keep every numbered entry side by side, alphabetically.
Yeah, that's sick, man.
So I like
That's
seeing stuff like where you turn around and go, yeah, for Resident Evil 5 on the 360, it never obviously, I think it did get a physical, maybe,
it didn't
for
on
newer
Xbox.
platforms. Sorry?
It didn't get a physical release on Xbox.
No, I said I think it did, but I don't own it.
Oh,
But I'm saying for like when you're looking at like other stuff, so like Dragon Age Origins is a better example where that never got a
yeah.
forwarded thing. So you can see them next to each other all the way to Veilguard.
If we do a part two of this video, that'd be a good one. A Dragon Age collection. That'd be nice to see on modern systems. Like we got with the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. It'd be great to get a bio
Or
or
that could be a video all in itself. What collections
true.
should be made? There you go.
The content wheels are still spinning. We appreciate y'all for tuning in, guys. And yeah, let us know down in the comments below which video game would you pick out of the millions of digital games that are not available physically? Which would you pick to preserve on your shelves and put on a shrine for the world to see? Let us know in the comments below. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. This is Game N Ramble, and we shall see you very soon. Goodbye.
See you later.
All right.
All right,
All
and then
right.
we need to do the outro for the long form boys.
Man, that was a beast, a behemoth
That was a
of an
beast.
episode. 4 hours, which isn't the longest for us, but I'm hungry as a motherfucker, man. And it's what
There you go.
time is
That's what
it?
he says every episode, guys.
That is
That's his
true.
he does that to get the reward to eat. So there
Yeah,
you
I,
go.
I actually do. I record these. I don't eat before recording them. That way I can have like a nice little treat to look forward to after the recording.
I do have a question though,
Yeah.
and this is just for me and like when because I've never done this. This is the first time we're doing it. I click stop recording, right?
Yes.
And then close out Zoom. I don't close out Zoom. I'd have to stop it first, right?
Uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You would have to. Yeah, I do
Because
believe
that
so.
makes sense, but sometimes technology, as we've learned, doesn't make sense. So
Yeah,
hopefully
I
that
don't.
works. Hopefully it
I
doesn't
hope
screw
so,
anything up,
man.
guys.
Um, I know you can leave or you can exit the recording and it'll still save to your computer. Like you
Hmm.
don't have to stop it before doing that.
Okay. I mean, I'm gonna
Um,
do it anyway, just to be safe.
okay. And I think it might give you an option to end recording. I'm not quite sure. Um, but yeah, as long as everything's saved to it should be saved to the computer,
Yeah,
I would assume.
cool,
And
cool.
if we
These are
if it does,
the things we worry about, guys. The nerve-wracking shit.
absolutely. It is. And I once again, dude, I appreciate you greatly for doing all this shit because I would not be able to run all that production while also trying to be a co-host. So I greatly appreciate you, brother.
All right, well, hopefully you all enjoyed that for your long ass journey, 4 hours.
You
If that's not enough
understand.
for you, I don't know what is.
um, yeah, dude. So I guess now it's just upload the videos, get them
Yep.
out, and then this should come out. Well, it'll come out while y'all are listening to it, so there's no need for me to tell you when it'll come out because when it comes out, you'll know it's out because you'll be listening to it. But it'll come out after these short form videos drop. So we appreciate you guys so very much, and yeah, let us know if there's any tweaks we need to make on this, or because if I'm being honest, this is going to be kind of a raw, unedited, something that we try to get up there for you.
Yeah.
So, and
So what I'll shoot down straight away, there's no way we're gonna be putting footage on this side on the longer
yeah,
stuff. I can't make that happen. The whole point of doing the short stuff is that it's meant to be efficient, and that would just put you back to where you were before because you would have to be doing all that, really.
totally. Yep.
So yeah, as long
And I
as you
mean,
understand that, and there'll be tiny instances of low time between each video as we set it up. Obviously, when it's really long load times, that's when we pause it out of respect. But it's
Yeah.
kind of cool to see the behind the scenes bloopers and stuff like that and the messing up that go on.
Yeah, and if you want to watch the video, what I would recommend is I'll timestamp the long form ones, but what I would really recommend is like whenever you because I'm a weirdo, man. Like when I listen to podcasts, if I get to a bit that's really interesting, I'm like, all right, I'm saving that for a meal. I want to watch this while I eat a meal. So if you get to that part, just make sure to be like, all right, well, I'm not going to listen to that. I'll skip ahead in the timestamps and then just go and grab the video version because we'll have all the video versions available on YouTube with the, shorter form content. So just go and click on one of those and you shall be good to go. But whew, I'm out of gas, Loon. I'm about to go grab me some food. I hope all of you are doing well. And if you have any feedback, definitely let us know. We appreciate you guys, and we shall see you in the next episode. Goodbye.
See you later.